And just like that, we got 12 matches official for WrestleMania 42. I tell you, I don't mind watching a brawl between CM Punk and Roman Reigns to end Monday Night Raw. Because last week, with all of the talking back and forth, and the week before, that's a lot of typing. Today, simple. Roman, New York City, acknowledge me. CM Punk's music hits, brawl, go to sleep, through the table, done. We go off the air. I kind of like it. I definitely have a lot of comments for what went down on Raw tonight, what the updated lineup is for WrestleMania. Obviously, we have an official host for WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, and I will remind everyone something that Netflix did many months ago, which somebody thought was a technical error. No, it wasn't a technical error. I want to welcome everyone. It is Monday night, March 30th, 2026. Welcome to the Don Tony Show, your Raw post show. I feel a little bit refreshed, a little invigorated. First, before anything, I want to thank you all for the birthday wishes. Much love. Friday, had a very nice night with the family. Saturday evening, my wife surprised me. We went to Connecticut, stood overnight, came back too late yesterday, so no sit down last night. And I'm going to fly through this show tonight. We got a ton of topics. Look at the synopsis. This is loaded, but we are going to go through them as fast as we can because I was not prepared for this. We bought a mattress last week. Time to get a new mattress in the household. And originally they were not supposed to come Tuesday until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then literally about an hour ago, I get this email saying, we're coming between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. So I got to get my ass up extra early tomorrow to prepare for these freaking mattress deliveries. So how's everybody doing? What do you think about the added matches? Are you feeling it? I still feel like some is lacking. Now we have Seth Rollins' match official. And what does that tell you? Braun Breaker is not ready for a return. Maybe he'll be ready for a run-in, but he is not ready to be cleared. And that is contrary to a shitload of people out there. Now, we opine here. We give, we talk about news. I give you my opinions, analysis, how I feel things should go. And I personally thought the only road should be Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. And that's still obviously going to happen. Maybe it happens the night after WrestleMania. I'll tell you this much. If that happens the night after WrestleMania, I'll be pissed the fuck off, and I'll tell you why. Because Braun Breaker was fine for the Royal Rumble. And many people thought that he would win it all. He was my pick. I wanted him to win it, without a doubt. Not only did that not happen, but they had him get eliminated before the match even started. And what that did, obviously, was for the entire Royal Rumble match, we didn't have to think in the back of our head that, I think Braun could win it. When is Braun going to come out? I think he's going to take it. I think he has a good shot. By eliminating him so early, that eliminated all the discussion about Braun Breaker throughout the whole Royal Rumble. If Braun Breaker is medically cleared and he does not have a match at Mania against Rollins, but then appears the night after WrestleMania, that kind of pisses me off. I would be more pissed off if I paid money to go to Vegas in person. But, look, Gunther, this is confusing. This is confusing when you think about Gunther for the last bunch of months. From CM Punk, CM Punk, John Cena, AJ Styles, Dragon Lee, pulling the mask off. I saw a super chat come in a few moments ago. Does this mean that Gunther's in the vision? Does this mean that Brock Lesnar and Gunther are on the same page? You know what this feels like to me? I don't know if you all feel the same way. This feels like when Drew McIntyre shook the hand of Rhea Ripley. And that was the excuse for Drew McIntyre to be in the Survivor Series War Games with the Judgment Day. And as soon as that match was over with, there went the relationship with Rhea Ripley and Drew McIntyre. It felt so random, but they did it. Now, not crapping on Drew McIntyre at all. I love the guy's work. But that felt so random and forced. And now you see this. This is so random and forced out of nowhere. Will Gunther and Seth Rollins tear it up? Of course they will. Of course they will. But it feels very lackluster. You feel like Gunther is almost a lock to win. What is the relationship with Paul Heyman afterwards? I'm not feeling that. Let me put it this way. I don't have any issue with the match, but for less than 3 weeks away to just randomness, even if you didn't know until last week that Seth Rollins was clear, which I heard was several weeks ago, this is the best you have for Gunther. I think that is not very good, in my honest opinion. So, but we'll try to put it all together. Obviously, they're leading to something with Danhausen and IShowSpeed. I'm fine with it. You look at AEW, you look at TNA, you look at WWE. They will have a little bit of outside entertainment. It is what it is. This is the day that this is the era that we're in. I will tell you later on, I'll give you my very, 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 very quick thoughts about Netflix's debut with baseball, MLB opening day. I watched the pre-show and I had to turn it off a couple of times. I ended up watching it all later on. But, if any of you saw it, something tremendous happened, which was pretty fucking hilarious for us wrestling fans. And when I tell you what happened, and it's not about the Wednesday hand, it's not about the Uso, something happened during the Netflix baseball game that wrestling fans identified with big time. And it was kind of funny to sit back and watch baseball fans get pissed the fuck off. Yeah, that's kind of what we have to deal with every Monday night when it comes to WWE. But listen, we got a lot of news to get into. Based on your feedback in the past, a lot of you want me to open up talking about Monday Night Raw. So I think without further ado, let's do that. I think before we even mention Raw and everything went down, obviously you all know by now that John Cena is the official host for WrestleMania. For those that did not see, earlier today on social media, John Cena was on location filming for an upcoming Netflix movie, and he teased it on social media, but then it was made official a little bit later on. John Cena will be the host of WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2. Look, we knew that John Cena was not leaving WWE. And, the idea, and there was a lot of people that thought that John Cena would not be seen again for the remainder of 2026. No, he will be all over WrestleMania. And he's not even being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as of yet. Look, obviously, there's a little bit extra for fans, that might be a little on the fence as far as purchasing tickets for WrestleMania. I know there's a lot of people in the media world that is still having their jollies like, look, WWE's dropping prices for WrestleMania. That's business, and that's done every year. I don't like to compare WWE and AEW. I'm not tribalistic like that. But I do remind people that, like a couple of days before AEW pay-per-view, sometimes tickets are available for $5 or $10. And I have no issue with that. I'd rather get something than nothing. All right. I'm not saying a WrestleMania would be that cheap. Maybe in 1985, if there was like 3 extra seats and nobody filled it. But the point is, this is business. You always start off with the jugular. How many people that I need it want it, got to have it. And then you get those people that are, a little bit waiting. And then you get to the point where like, okay, now we got to start offering a little bit more. We'll offer a little bit more, see how that goes. And then when that kind of runs its course, now we'll, do a sale. We'll how many people go on Amazon and you see, oh, look, spring deal, 45% off. And then you go on some of these research sites and you learn that, that price was close to the same it's been in the past. They make you think like you're getting a great deal. WWE was overpriced originally. So WWE bringing the price down even 20% is still too high. It's still too high. So I'd rather them bring it down a little bit than leave it outrageously disgusting. And I got an update for you all about Italy. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I got to thank someone later on. I'll shout him out later on. Our update about Clash in Italy. Liv Morgan might be making pasta. I got some specifics. And not only that, if you thought $11,500 was outrageous, wait till I tell you that WWE actually increased the price. They increased the price. You haven't heard that anywhere. And I'm going to also, in a few moments, talk about the WWE Hall of Fame, the Legacy Wing. I'm going to share something with you tonight that literally you're going to walk into the corner of your house and you're going to bang your head. And you're going to be like, duh. I had a dumb moment over the weekend, a dumb moment. And this is courtesy of an email that I got about the Legacy Wing. Somebody who I trust that gives me some WWE info gave me some specifics about the Legacy Wing, enlightened me about a lot of stuff, but he also shared with me a tidbit about the Legacy Hall of Fame that a lot of you will want to know. A lot of you, because I saw over the last couple of days, should they have waited to put Sid and Bad News Brown in the Hall of Fame? When I'm done talking about the Hall of Fame tonight, there's going to be no objection to Bad News Brown and Sid going in, and there will be complete clarity. There will be complete clarity about the WWE Hall of Fame going forward. I was shocked today that there was no Immortal moment announced in Madison Square Garden. You would have thought if they were going to do an Immortal moment, and if it's the rumored Hogan versus Andre match, you do it in Madison Square Garden, New York, which was always, now listen, how many Hulkamaniacs that were around in the mid-'80s were in Madison Square Garden tonight? Not very many. Maybe less than 50. So this is not your Hogan, fan base. But if you were going to do it in a safe place, you either do it in New York City or you do it in Florida. And they did not announce that tonight. And I was pretty shocked to see that. I don't know if they're going to drop the Immortal moment, but we'll talk about the Legacy Wing a little bit. But listen, John Cena hosting night 1, night 2. We've seen WrestleMania hosts in the past. The Rock hosted WrestleMania. We've had Miz host WrestleMania. John Cena will open it up, cut a promo, open up night 2, cut a promo, maybe have it back. I expect him to have a segment with Danhausen. And who knows, maybe he hits a you can see, attitude adjustment on someone. But I don't know if John Cena will actually get physical. I think he'll just be there just to hype everybody up and just be a little bit of extra for WrestleMania. Vegas, big money, Netflix. You start to see how crucial, Netflix, ESPN, and Saudi Arabia are with WWE. Those are the three. Those are the three amigos. You take away Saudi Arabia, Netflix, and ESPN, and WWE is a bag of shells. And it's amazing in how short of time that WWE's become so dependent on those three entities. And some people may feel that Saudi Arabia might be the biggest culprit on tweaking WWE. I say no. I think Netflix has been the biggest culprit in not only transforming WWE, but I think in a lot of ways hurting a lot of their fan base. I think Netflix has hurt a lot of WWE's fan base. But Cena being announced, good. Do it to show everyone that he's going to be around. Now, I will remind everyone that it was about 6-7 months ago. Remember we talked about that? About 6-7 months ago, Netflix just quietly put this announcement up on their platform, their streaming platform. Yeah, we screenshotted it. We never forgot. Oh, yeah, look, the Raw after WrestleMania. Wait a minute. John Cena advertised for Las Vegas WrestleMania weekend? That was about 7 months ago. They put it up. It was up for about 8 hours, and then they took it down. And I'm sure WWE probably wasn't thrilled about it because we were still in the middle of John Cena's retirement deal. You know, this was before, I even think this was before John Cena lost the championship. They were teasing John Cena for WrestleMania weekend. So, you know, it is what it is. He will be a very small part of it, but it's just a name that, you know, wrestling, I mean, he's obviously the most over that he's ever been. And, you know, fine. He's going to host. Good. Would you rather Cena host than IShowSpeed? Nothing against IShowSpeed. I've grown to, you know, tolerate him. I don't have any issue with him, but would you rather have, like, you know, who's this guy? The guy that I want to talk about a little bit later. What was this guy's name? I thank God I forgot it, but I'm going to have nightmares again. What is this? Bert Kreischer? My God. I don't want to say anything bad about the man because he does seem very likable, but it's like, you know, everywhere I look on fucking Netflix is this guy. You know, Bert Kreischer. Would you rather have him host WrestleMania? No. Would you rather have Netflix after Major League Baseball? Would you rather Netflix host WrestleMania? No. Thank fucking God. No. All right. Let's get into a few other things. Let's talk about Raw. Let's get Raw out of the way. Later on, this is not clickbait and it's not exaggeration. I say this with some disappointment, but I promise you this is not exaggerated in any way, shape, or form. We got to really rip big time Dave Meltzer tonight. He did one of the biggest no-nos in journalism. One of the biggest no-nos in journalism, and it kind of breaks my heart to see how many people in the news world ignored it. But when I get through with it, I promise you, 99.99% of you out there will agree 100% of what I'm going to bring up to you. It sealed his fate as far as being labeled a journalist in 2026. And it has nothing to do with Vince Russo. Nothing to do with Vince Russo. All right, so let's talk about Raw a little bit. And during Raw tonight, you know what? I'll share something. We'll go one step ahead because I'll share something with you that you'll get a kick out of. During Raw tonight, we learned that Madison Square Garden will once again be home to Saturday night's main event. It is going to go down July 18th, and that is the same weekend as Fanatics. You know, WWE has that Fanatics Fest that, you know, my God, the amount of money it's insane how much money is made there. And if you do a little research on Cody Rhodes, how much money is dropped on Cody Rhodes for Fanatics, you would be blown away. But you would also understand why Cody Rhodes ain't turning heel anytime soon. Once that well gets a little bit dry, then you do that. But that's the same weekend as Fanatics. This is the first time that WWE will have Madison Square Garden host Saturday night's main event. My friends, I did a little research from the hard drives. Would you like to know the main event of the last time WWE had Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden? I'll give you a hint. CM Punk was in the main event, and we actually have the graphic. The main event for the last time WWE was in Madison Square Garden was CM Punk teaming up with the Boogeyman to defeat John Morrison and Big Daddy V. August 18th, 1987. It wasn't even fucking Halloween. CM Punk and a boogeyman taking on John Morrison and Big Daddy V. Other matches, and a lot of you will remember this one, Evander Holyfield versus Matt Hardy ended in a no contest in a boxing match. John Cena over Carlito, and Batista and Kane over Finlay and the Great Khali. So how you like that for a blast from the past? So, all right, let's get into Monday Night Raw. Very briefly from Madison Square Garden. Cody Rhodes. Actually, let's do it like that. Cody Rhodes opens the show. So, New York City, what do you want to talk about? Stephanie McMahon's music hits. Stephanie comes out. Did I say 1987? 2007. Did I say... I had 1987 on the brain because tonight was the first time women's tag team titles were defended since 1987. Glamour Girls versus Jumping Bomb Angels. I did do my research there also. That's why if I said 87 earlier, my mistake, I meant 2007. Punk was 2007. 1987 was the last time we had the women's tag titles. So, Cody opens up the show. What do you want to talk about? Stephanie McMahon's music hits. This is a little weird. I mean, Stephanie being at the Garden was not out of the ordinary. Stephanie's behind the scenes there all the time now. She's got her podcast. She's obviously involved with WWE again. She's married to Triple H. Stephanie being at the Garden was no surprise. I just think that a lot of people didn't expect her to be on camera. And you see how much the royal families is lacking in this storyline. We thought it was going to be hardcore Rhodes Orton. It's like the McCoys versus whatever from back in the day. The Orton, Rhodes. That's going to be it's like Flair Funk, Rhodes Orton. And then you realize, Shane is not around. Vince is not around. And Stephanie not even being able to acknowledge her father. The house that my grandfather built. The house that my grandfather built. That's not actually factually wrong. But you could hear the fans be like, oh, come on, you could acknowledge your father. But she's out there, and Cody is wondering, why she's there. And, she brings up that she's a McMahon, brings up her grandfather, and she warns Cody, you cannot beat this version of Randy. And she's going on this passionate tirade. She brings up Dusty. She's like, Dusty knew this. And she's trying to make some insults to Cody. You're not your father. And this current version of Cody Rhodes cannot beat this current version of Randy Orton. You have no idea who you're dealing with. And while this is going on, the fans are chanting, Randy, Randy, Randy. Yeah, we're in the Garden. Crowd reactions are a little bit different. Chanting for Randy Orton. Doesn't mean Cody was booed. Cody got booed for 2 words he said later on. I'm sure you know what those 2 words were. And a lot of people thought it was going to be suck it, but it wasn't. Cody refuses this mindset of the teacher and the student, trying to make it seem like it's the teacher and the student, teacher and the student. I think it went over a lot of people's heads when Cody was talking about being in the car with Randy Orton and dribbling all over himself. I think people thought that he was talking about infanthood. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the age difference between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes is not that dramatic. All right, what was Cody riding a big wheel and Randy Orton was sitting in the plastic seat next to him? I think people totally didn't get what Cody Rhodes was trying to say there. Go back and watch it. It was kind of, even social media. I was looking at the reaction and I was like, yeah, that kind of went over a lot of people's heads. But refuses this student-teacher thing. Cody, brings up what Stephanie said a little bit earlier. I'm not my father, but you sure ain't yours either. Taking a shot at Stephanie, you're Vince. And she slaps Cody. And then she goes on this tirade saying that she's out there because she cares about him and that no one is giving him guidance and that this version of Orton is not only listening to the voices in his... Yes, I took notes. He's not only listening to the voices in his head, he is beckoning the voices in his head. He's relishing in those voices while listening to someone else. Now I'm starting to wonder, maybe it's not Cowboy Bob Orton they're talking about. With all due respect, I don't think many wrestling fans of today give a shit about Cowboy Bob Orton. He was awesome back in the day. I loved Ace. But I think today, maybe people aren't caring as much. So Stephanie finishes by saying, unless you can think like Randy, you will lose that title. And she's about to leave the ring. Cody stops her. I don't know what the fans thought, because Cody even brought up a little bit of Randy's history with Stephanie. And if you remember last week's show that we did, we talked about the number one most disgusting, vile, venomous moment in Randy Orton's career. Not setting a house on fire, not, almost attempting murder on people. No, it was kissing a married woman. So Cody stops Stephanie, and people are like, ooh, what did you think it was going to happen? So Cody looks at her and he says, I have two words for you. And the crowd goes, suck it. And he looks at Stephanie and he's like, thank you. And the crowd's like, oh man, that sucked. Oh no, that was awful. Fans were not buying that. Like Stephanie McMahon pumped him up so good. She got through. Her voice got in Cody's head. The segment felt like, gee, we have no one else. All right, we're going to have Stephanie do it. Like, there's no one else. I mean, you can't have Triple H do it because of his managerial position, the COO, whatever it is, chief content officer. Stephanie is really the only person they could use. And that goes to show you the lack. Personally, even if Vince didn't do what he did, even if Vince had a vasectomy, even if Vince had a vasectomy in 1983, and couldn't even do it if he wanted to, and lived like a priest, I don't think Vince, at the age that he's at right now, would be able to cut the promo. I don't think so. They weren't going to bring a Ric Flair in. There's other people they could have brought on TV to get to Cody, but they decided, listen, you could have brought on Anderson. Remember, there's a history there also. I just feel that, this is lacking. They should have just stood with close friends. Fuck the teacher and the student. Fuck Rhodes and Orton. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. Just friends, just friends. Like the title ruined their friendship. I think that would have been so much simpler to go, and you could have had anyone out there, but they chose to have Stephanie instead. I'm not criticizing Stephanie at all. She did the best that she could do, and it wasn't an awful segment, but you could see how difficult. And then the funny thing is, I get it. It's Madison Square Garden. You give a little extra to fans. Cody Rhodes making a surprise appearance. Great. You do that. People paid big money to be there tonight. But you're left with, why were you here? You're like, why were you here? Really? I mean, other than the fact that it's Madison Square Garden, why were you here? So we get more comedy with Danhausen and IShowSpeed. IShowSpeed has had a pretty rough week. He wants the curse lifted. And Danhausen's like, I want $1 million. I want your streaming services. I want your assistant. And IShowSpeed's like, I can't do that. So Adam Pearce shows up, reveals that IShowSpeed has a front row seat, just so happens to be sitting right next to Logan Paul's mom. And he's got a front row seat for a match that we kind of knew what the outcome was, even though it really didn't hit where as good as we thought it would. But IShowSpeed is sitting at ringside. We get a guest commentator and an LA Knight, and the match opens up the show as far as matches go. And as we feared, it was the Usos losing the Raw Tag Team Championships against the Vision, Austin Theory and Logan Paul. And, when this match first happened, and once again, last week we gave a big fuck you to Netflix. Now we give a double fuck you to Netflix. This is 2 weeks in a row now that you can't rewind. That's bullshit, because their idea is you're not going to even have a chance to go tune into something else for a little while it's live. If you tune into something else and you go back to the app, whatever you missed, too fucking bad. And that's bullshit. That is bullshit, because people out there that are paying top money for Netflix ad-free, bad enough have to endure ads during Raw, even when you have an ad-free service. Just explain that to me. You're already doing that. Now you take away the rewind button, so you can't fucking go replay. What did Liv Morgan just say? What did she call Stephanie McMahon's mother? Aputa? Bandejo? Let me rewind it. Did she call her? You can't even rewind it. Big fuck you to Netflix for doing that. I tell you, I canceled my ESPN subscription. Someone out there hooked me up with a link where I could watch premium live events for free online. But I am so goddamn close to canceling Netflix. Just because, it's like, you're choking everybody. You're forcing everybody to fucking see all this extra shit. You're forcing ads, you're forcing this. Now you make the viewing experience even more difficult, because you just got to try to, milk that little bit of extra hours viewed. And that pisses me off, man. I tell you, I don't wish demise on any wrestling promotion, unless, the person that ran it affected me personally. I don't wish ill will on any wrestling promotion out there. But I tell you, man, you a little bit in some way, you kind of like say to yourself, man, I just wish like Netflix would just terminate WWE's agreement after 5 years. I just feel like if they went to Amazon, like I don't think we're going to see like, look, it's the executive of Prime sitting front row. Like you don't see what we see when Netflix. When I saw Major League Baseball, man, I wanted to throw up what I watched. But we'll talk about that a little later. But so we had the tag match. And the best way I could describe the outcome of this match, I wonder why IShowSpeed has his hand over his head. See, IShowSpeed is a personality. He's an entertainer. He's a great social media influencer. You're not a good actor. You could have 500 trillion followers. You could be charismatic. You could be funny. You could be all that stuff. That doesn't mean that you got acting lessons. And the acting tonight sucked. And what happened was Austin Theory got put through a table. So right after that, Logan Paul goes to ringside and his mother is there. And his mother gives her son, my mom gave me a beautiful dinner on Friday for my birthday. My mom, who's going in for heart surgery a week from this Wednesday, getting valve replacement surgery, very serious shit. We had some beautiful moments. Logan Paul's mother gives him breast knuckles. So LA Knight sees that and he's like, nah, that ain't going to happen. So LA Knight, not to be confused with the Eli Knight, the one who I think is, in Kevin Nash's eyes, might not be urban enough in NXT. LA Knight goes down to ringside. He's like, nah, we ain't going to have that. He starts brawling with Logan Paul. Logan Paul ends up pulling IShowSpeed over the guardrail, over the padding. So IShowSpeed is now staying on the ringside area, and he gets the brass knucks. Now, he's facing this way. This way is Logan Paul and LA Knight brawling a little bit, and LA Knight takes out Logan Paul temporarily. So I guess IShowSpeed thought that Logan Paul was approaching him from behind. So as soon as LA Knight went to, I don't know what he was doing, copping a feel with IShowSpeed. Like, are we going out for dinner after? Would you like a Slim Jim? What was the purpose of going up to IShowSpeed for? He approaches him, IShowSpeed turns around, nails LA Knight with the brass knucks, knocks him out. And IShowSpeed's like, what did I just do? And the Usos are watching all of this, and they're getting distracted. And like I'm on the Usos, I'm like, we don't care about IShowSpeed right now. We got tag titles to defend. So what ends up happening is Logan Paul gets the brass knucks, regains it, and knocks out Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso gets knocked out from the knucks. Now remember, Logan Paul is out, put through a table. He's just done. Jimmy Uso is knocked out from the knucks. Jey Uso dives over the top, taking out Logan Paul. And Austin Theory just drops on Jimmy Uso and gets the win. And they are your new tag team champions. Remember what I said last week and the week before. If they have this title change right before WrestleMania, that's because they plan on going in a massively different direction, not only for Logan Paul, but for the Usos as well. Just think, we may even end up with no Usos match at all at WrestleMania 42. Sure looking that way, right? And I'm not even sure that Logan Paul and Austin Theory will be defending those tag titles at WrestleMania. But they are the tag team champs. A little bit later on is a backstage segment where this guy, smirk on your face, good social media influencer, seems like a very good guy, not a very good actor. He's a little bit frustrated. Paul Heyman's like, relax, don't worry about it. You're good, we're fine. And Paul Heyman tells Logan Paul and Austin Theory, take him out to eat, take him out to dinner. You don't worry about it. And Paul Heyman is like, oh, the Usos are going to kill him. The Usos are going to kill him. So as they leave the building, they start doing this segment with Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce throughout the night. Adam, to Paul Heyman, did you get my email? Paul Heyman say, I don't read emails. I'm the GOAT. I'm this. I'm the Oracle. I'm the advocate. I don't read emails. Emails are like a follow-up or a reply. And Adam Pearce like, did you get the email? You get the emails will lead to Seth Rollins, which was kind of funny because I didn't know police dropping the charges would mean that a restraining order is lifted. I'm not trying to be a stickler to detail, but just saying. So we get that. So now we get Liv Morgan. And again, I'm pissed off because I wanted to rewind it. And I wanted to see exactly what Liv Morgan said. But the best way I could describe is, and as we said last week, Roxanne Perez was on the verge of returning. She came back and she helped Liv Morgan take out Stephanie Vaquer. Excellent statement made by Liv Morgan tonight. Liv Morgan, trolling the fans. One thing for certain, Liv Morgan is probably one of the most over women because she's going to get so many cheers at WrestleMania. But her voice could be annoying as fuck, man. And she knows it and she does it well. But she's on the mic in the ring by herself and she's calling out Stephanie Vaquer. You're done for, bitch. You attack me. But even worse, you attack my family. I know that you don't have any family right now here, I guess, in the United States. People are like, ooh, bad. Then Liv Morgan asks if Stephanie is afraid to meet her face to face. And then she says where she comes from, it's on site. And Liv says that her mother taught her to never let anyone get the best of her. Then what I think she said about Stephanie Vaquer's mother says, your mother, tu madre abacera puta. Your mother is a skanky bitch. I think that's what it means. If that's not exactly what it means, I know that's kind of like the phrase that we call people in our neighbor, basura, puta. So Liv Morgan says it in Spanish. And then Stephanie Vaquer comes out there. They start getting a brawl. Stephanie Vaquer gets the upper hand. She's got the chair. We think that she's going to use it. Here comes Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez nails Stephanie Vaquer. Remember what I said? We may get Stephanie Vaquer versus Roxanne Perez before WrestleMania. That was a match we talked about last week. That very well could be happening next week. I would think you would do it next week rather than the go-home Raw to WrestleMania, but, listen, I wouldn't necessarily have Roxanne Perez win next week. Maybe Stephanie wins by DQ and Liv comes out there and does something. But look, Roxanne Perez looking good. Looks like she did before. It wasn't going to see any major change, no difference in hair. She helped Liv Morgan lay out Stephanie McMahon. Good segment there. Very good segment there. So now we get the women's tag team title match. This was a hot mess. This was supposed to be Lash Legend and Nia Jax defending the women's tag titles against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. This was, it's kind of interesting that Madison Square Garden hasn't had a tag title match since 1987. That's we were talking about earlier. But boy, was this a wet fart. This was a decent match. And then it was kind of funny. If you watched it closely, you saw it. The Bellas start walking down the rampway. And as they're walking down the rampway, if you look closely, you'll see Nikki Bella keep looking behind her, like she's expecting someone to come out. So she turns around again, and here comes Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And they're walking like a little bit behind the Bellas, but Nikki Bella sees them. So now they're standing right by ringside area, and here comes Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, and Brie Bella turns around, and that's when she spots them for the first time. Nikki Bella turns around, and again, she's got IShowSpeed acting qualities there. She looks and she's like, "What are you doing here? Like, you fucking saw them twice." So they're having a little bit of like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And next thing we know, this is basically how the match ended. Lash Legend gave a nice, if I remember, powerbomb to Lyra Valkyria, and then here comes Charlotte Flair clipping Lash Legend with the most delicate. You would have thought that Charlotte Flair was going to clip her grandmother in the leg. She clipped Lash Legend with such a... Put it this way, if you remember Hulk Hogan's chair shots in WCW, that's the equivalent of what Charlotte Flair did to Lash Legend today. Referee calls for the bell. Next thing you know, you got 4 tag teams kind of not brawling against each other, but the 3 tag teams are trying to rid of Lash Legend and Nia Jax. And basically the crowd is groaning. They don't like it. And then Nia and Lash Legend get out of Dodge. And officially, it's Lash Legend and Nia Jax defeating Lyra Valkyria and Bayley by disqualification. And we found out later on that it will be a fatal 4-way for the women's tag team titles at WrestleMania. It'll be Lash Legend and Nia Jax defending against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. So that one-on-one that we thought could happen is not happening. The possible one-on-one between Bayley and Lyra Valkyria at WrestleMania is not happening. And, the Bellas we knew was happening. But you got the Bellas, Alexa and Charlotte, Lyra and Bayley versus Nia and Lash. 4-way for the women's tag team titles. We get a recap of Brock Lesnar and Obafemi from last week. And this was tremendous. I'm a little annoyed because I could have sworn I took a screenshot of it, but I apparently don't have it. But I can explain to you what went down over here. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar are in the ring. And Paul Heyman is talking about how Oba peed himself last week. He wet his pants. And he's throwing some shade. He's once again bringing up history with Brock and other people trying to, dethrone the beast and all that. And Brock has kind of had it. He's like, nah, fuck this, man. He didn't curse, but he's like, Oba, get your ass out here. And Adam Pearce shows up. This is not happening. And right away, I had gotten 2 DMs from 2 of you out there. By the way, shout out to Jose Marrero. If you guys saw the stamp of the names on the apron today, there was a little lottery thing. Jose Marrero is one of our longest supporters of the DTKC show. He had the first name on the apron tonight. I thought that was so fucking cool. He's like, hey, I hope you saw it tonight. That's the $1,500 cash grab that we talked about last week that WWE's doing on their website. You know, get your name stamped. Remember I told you it was only going to be big enough for a little tiny part of a postcard. Your name will be stamped on the canvas at WrestleMania, only one night, and then they will cut your name out and they will put it inside a frame, $1,500. You could say that some sweaty men and sweaty women, somebody, you know, they wrestled on my name. Wonderful. Wonderful. Hopefully no married women are on that list, especially if they get divorced later on. That kind of sucked, man. I spent $1,500 and I'm not married to this fuck anymore. So Brock wants over. Adam Pearce says no. He kindly asks the Beast to exit the ring. And here comes Obafemi. And if I remember correctly, I think Obafemi kind of shoved Adam Pearce, you know, to get out of the way, to basically see that these two can't control each other. And we get a stare down. Crowd is chanting, holy shit. Paul Heyman starts to leave the ring, and you're thinking, okay, something good's going to happen. We were kind of hoping for that crazy pull apart, you know, kind of reminiscent of Brock from yesteryear at Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman and others, you know, just totally, you know, just wanting to kill each other. But no, before anybody could really get any physical, you get really physical with each other. Here's Triple H. And boos, big time boos. Fans are just not having Triple H. And, you know, Brock leaves the ring. Brock has a smirk on his face, picks up the ring steps, throws them. You know, picking up the ring steps is pretty damn impressive because those shits are heavy. But all you got to do is pick up ring steps and just throw it. That sound is like, ooh. It's kind of like back in the day. If you watched old ECW from the 90s, they would use these extremely, extremely thin cookie sheets that you would buy in a supermarket for like 99 cents. They wouldn't hurt anything. You could literally bash a butterfly who were on those cookie sheets, and the butterfly would be like, what are you doing? What are you, stupid? You know, like, but it makes a nice sound. You hit somebody with like, oh my God, that must have hurt. No, it didn't. But, you know, that's basically Triple H is there, and fans are booing the shit out of it. And, you know, we don't get nothing. Brock ends up leaving, throws the steps, makes a nice sound, but we get nothing. And now we have two more appearances. So the pull apart, maybe the pull apart is next week. We're not getting any contract signings. You notice that? We didn't get any contract signings. Kind of wish we got like one, maybe two. We're not really getting that. So maybe that changes next week. Finn Balor promo, very to the point. He reminds Dom that when Dom turned on his father, Finn Balor stepped in. And he says that he wasn't the reason why he lost his Intercontinental Championship. Dominic lost that title because he's a self-entitled jackass. And Finn admits that he's guilty for helping create that self-entitled jackass. Now he's going to be the one responsible for destroying that self-entitled jackass at WrestleMania. So the match is official. It's going to be Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor one-on-one. And that obviously is a match that a lot of people want to see, including yours truly. So that match is official. So now we get confusion. Confusion. Penta is defending the Intercontinental Championship against Kofi Kingston. Grayson Waller is ringside with Kofi. Once again, teasing a little bit of, let's just put it this way, not miscommunication with Kofi and Grayson Waller, but just they're not in sync. They're not on the same page. It is kind of funny to hear Michael Cole say that Grayson Waller wants to be part of New Day, and you see how long he's been in that corner. But, you know, Kofi is not very thrilled. They were teasing a little bit of friction between him and Grayson Waller during the match. There's one part where Grayson Waller wants to help, and Kofi says, you know, I got him, dummy. Stay out of this. I don't need you. So Kofi has Penta by the timekeeper's area, by the announcer's table. And Kofi goes for a suicide dive, and he gets greeted with a slam on the outside by Penta. So you hear Grayson Waller say, I guess you did need me, Kofi. Wise ass. So then Penta takes out Grayson Waller, I think with a Mexican destroyer. They get back in the ring. Kofi hits the Trouble in Paradise. But unfortunately, like a lot of finishing maneuvers when you get older, only in wrestling, and this is a very bad exaggeration, but people will understand what I mean. Only in wrestling that if I have a pistola and I aim it at you and go bang, if I'm 25 years old and I take the pistola and I go bang, you go down. That's it. You're out. 1, 2, 3. Finisher. But if I'm 45 years old and I have the same pistola and I go bang, for some reason, you're not out for the count. Now you're in like critical condition. Then when I'm 50 years old and I take the pistola and I go bang, suddenly you're serious but stable condition. And then if you got Ric Flair territory and you're 65 years old and I take the pistola and I go bang, you look at me and you kick out at 1 like Goldberg. Only in wrestling can you hit your finisher, and age really doesn't matter because physics, would still do the same damage. And now he hits a beautiful Trouble in Paradise, only for a 2. So what ends up happening, Kofi goes for a superplex attempt, fails. Penta hits the Mexican destroyer. 1, 2, 3. Penta wins. So now Penta is outside the ring. First, he's there celebrating. He's outside the ring, goes back in the ring, and here comes Jackie Redmond. And Jackie Redmond is interviewing Penta, and she's like, look, WrestleMania coming up. What's the plans for Penta? And what we find out is that Penta will be defending the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match at WrestleMania. Okay. I couldn't rewind it to hear if an opponent was announced. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, there's only 2 Raws left for WrestleMania after tonight. If Gunther is going to come back, Gunther versus Penta was a match that I honestly thought was the way to go. After Gunther literally pulling the mask off of Dragon Lee, you would think that would lead to something, or maybe Penta. Because remember, Dragon Lee last week, if you retain, I want to face you. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe Dragon Lee, they teased that he was going to face Penta, and here comes Gunther. And then maybe, Penta says to Gunther, why don't you pull my mask off? And you see them standing next to each other. Gunther and Penta would be physically similar. And no, we didn't get that tonight. We find out, if I remember correctly, the ladder match at WrestleMania, I'm not saying that all the opponents are bad, but this is random as fuck. It's going to be Penta defending the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match against Dragon Lee, Jaden McDonough, Rusev, and Javon Evans. Dragon Lee I could see. Javon Evans I can see. Jaden McDonough, I'm not crapping on because I'm a big fan of Jaden McDonough, but Rusev was just out of nowhere. I mean, Rusev and Penta have a little bit of history, but still, this just felt like, all right, I understand you're not going to have SmackDown guys in this match, but you could have easily turned this into something a little bit more special, especially when we think about it. And it's like, okay, there's no match for LA Knight. There's no match for some others as well. And at this point, there's no match for Gunther either. And I'm like, okay, ladder match, awesome. But you asking yourself, like, who's going to be in this ladder match? You almost feel like this match is being designed for either Penta to retain or Javon Evans to win. I think that kind of feels like the only 2 possible outcomes there. But that's pretty much what we have from that match. So now we start bringing Raw home. Adam Pearce is in the back, Paul Heyman again. Adam asks Paul Heyman again, did you read my email? And Paul Heyman's like, what the fuck is you with these emails? Leave me the fuck alone. I'm going to go to the ring. Paul Heyman goes to the ring. He puts over the Vision's championship victory from earlier. He talks about how Brock has left the building. And that's important because what happens next explains why Brock didn't come back out or Vision or anybody else. There's no one there. So before anything, Paul Heyman says, I even tried to give New York Brock versus Oba. Then he says, but some wannabe mid-level suck-up. And I thought he was talking about Triple H. But he obviously was throwing shade to Adam Pearce. So Adam Pearce comes out, interrupts Paul Heyman. And for the third time, did you see my email earlier? And Paul Heyman's like, yeah, I saw your email. So Adam Pearce like, so you know that the charges, the Boston police have dropped all the charges against Seth Rollins. And the crowd pops. And Paul Heyman's like, yeah, I knew that already. And then Adam Pearce announces even bigger news, that Seth Rollins is medically cleared. Now, again, I'm not trying to be a stickler to detail, but Boston police dropping the charges is different than lifting a restraining order. So what ends up happening is Seth Rollins shows up, no masked men around him. I guess the masked men thing is suddenly getting dropped. Is that it? I mean, I still think the masked men could be in the future, and Braun Breaker's got to be revealed. You remember the thumbnail last week, this one. I think you absolutely need to do this. Why the fuck did you have masked men around him for a month? Then suddenly they left. What were they outside? Was the infamous sausage cart from 34th Street and 8th Avenue outside? Was there a special, show up with your mask and you get a free sausage hero or something? Like, you had fucking masked men around this guy for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. And then suddenly today he shows up with nothing. So Seth Rollins nails Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is on the ground in the middle of the ring. The chair's underneath him. And Seth is teasing that he's going to hit a curb stomp onto Paul Heyman, onto the chair. And suddenly somebody pulls Seth Rollins outside the ring. Now, my immediate thought was, all right, maybe it's a mask guy. Pulls up the mask, reveals it's Braun Breaker. No, suddenly we look, and it's fucking Gunther. And again, I'm not crapping on the match. I'm sure it's going to kick ass. But like, boy, is this random. Like, Gunther starts choking out Seth Rollins, leaving him unconscious. Gunther's pointed to the WrestleMania sign. Gunther has no affiliation with Paul Heyman at all. If he joins the Vision, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is not a bad match, but with 2 weeks left in WrestleMania, you know what this says to me? This says to me one thing, and I said it at the beginning of tonight's show. What this says to me was we won't know about Braun Breaker until right before WrestleMania if he's medically cleared. And with 2.5 weeks remaining. Remember, he was at the Performance Center last week. So obviously, either A, they feel that he is not ready for a return in time for WrestleMania, or B, he is ready for a return, but they want that to start after WrestleMania. Again, the night after WrestleMania is going to be extremely interesting. And again, it's going to piss me off if Braun is cleared and they decide, no, we're not going to have the WrestleMania match, but we'll tease that the night after. I get it. You have to wait. Listen, a torn hernia, I've had it. I had hernia surgery not too long ago, less than 6 months ago. All right. I know what that entails. And the way, Braun's injury was described to all of us, it doesn't matter if Braun Breaker is a jacked up 250-pound guy or a 400-pound viscera. A torn hernia doesn't heal any quicker. Whether, all you could do is aggravate the injury. You're forced to just sit on the sidelines. And since Braun Breaker is a specimen, that guy can't lift any weights. You can't even lift lower weights Because if anybody out there has ever lifted, just picture you lifting something with your legs right now. You'd be like, ugh. You're using your stomach muscles as well. So Ron Breakker is forced to basically just sit and wait, sit and wait, sit and wait. And the fact that he was even possibly cleared tells me that the injury is not severe. The only question is what happens right after Mania. It's going to be very interesting to see, but this was random with 2 weeks left. It just feels just out of nowhere. If Gunther was going to retire Seth Rollins, fine. Tease a retirement. Maybe. Remember everybody? Oh, Gunther, LA Knight. How many fucking news people out there were telling you, Gunther, LA Knight, Gunther, LA Knight, Gunther, LA Knight. Now we might have LA Knight and IShowSpeed. So, I don't know. Not because we're not getting Gunther versus Penta. I just felt Penta versus Gunther made more sense. This just feels random. This just feels very random. So, next we had, Io Sky gives new meaning to the term suicide dive. I'm sure a lot of you saw what went down tonight. This is the best way I could describe this match. Raquel Rodriguez defeating Io Sky. If you look a little bit to the left, you see Kairi Sane with a very shocked look on her face. This was a hot mess as well. And that looks like a hot mess in the ring. And I say that complimentary. What happened in this match is very simple. Io Sky, Raquel Rodriguez following a lot of action. The crowd was kind of spent for this match. This match is going on normally. No Liv Morgan, no Roxanne Perez. But during the match, out of nowhere, Asuka is like chasing Kairi Sane down to ringside. Now, if you guys remember, I said that maybe we get Kairi versus Io versus Asuka at Mania, the three-way. But tonight, Asuka is kind of chasing Kairi Sane down to the ringside area. And it's just strange. And Kairi Sane climbs the apron, and Io is looking at her like, you don't need that. You don't need to be treated this way. Like, Asuka looked like she was abusing Kairi Sane. And Io's looking at her, and I'm like, discuss this over coffee later on. Maybe a little bit of tea, afterwards. Like, we don't need conversation during this match. Especially when Io is looking behind her to say, okay, where's my cue where Raquel is going to go for the kick? Where she could have just looked straight ahead and look on the Titantron. I said, ooh, right, here come Raquel. So what ends up happening is she looks behind her, and it's actually kind of funny, such a good friend Io Sky is. In fact, maybe they could use this for next week, and that'll just justify the three-way. Io is so concerned about Kairi that she's looking behind her. So when Raquel Rodriguez goes to kick Io Sky, Io just moves out of the way. And Raquel nails Kairi Sane. Such a good friend. So Kairi gets laid out. And next thing you know, Io Sky goes back in the ring. And Asuka, a very weird thing happened. I'm sure you guys saw this. Asuka is grabbing Kairi by the head. And a dive is coming because Asuka keeps looking in the ring and she's looking at Kairi, look at the ring, Kairi, like just grabbing her and just looking at her. And this is going on for about maybe 15 seconds. And that may not sound like a long time, but if you go watch it back, it is a long time. And while this is going on, Io is like, I've had enough. She fucking goes to do a suicide dive to the outside on Asuka. And I tell you, thank God she was okay. I don't know if her feet got caught in the ropes because Netflix, you fucking took away for the rewind button. Io dives to the outside. Flat on her head. I don't even know if she touched Asuka. Asuka falls backwards, but we thought Io just landed on her head. And she looks at Kyrie and she's like just like this. And she gets back in the ring, and I guess she told Raquel that she was okay. Raquel hits the Tejada bomb and gets the win. And that's how that match ended. But it was just, if you go back and you just watch Asuka, how she's grabbing Kyrie by the head. And if you look at Kyrie, it's even funnier because Kyrie is kind of like, do this for 15 seconds. It just was a hot mess. So there's your match. Then close it out. Thank you, WWE. Because last week, the week before, when you had CM Punk hunting the extended mix, back in the day, you would have like a 45 record, and you have the 12-inch version. You have like 7 minutes of a regular song. I'm sure a lot of people remember those days. The last couple of weeks, we've had very detailed promos from CM Punk and Roman Reigns. So he's just typing and typing and typing like, oh, he called him old. Oh, he said this. Oh, Phil, Joe. You're typing everything. Tonight, easy peasy. Roman comes out there. New York City, acknowledge me. CM Punk's music hits. No promo tonight. Don't know if they were pressed for time, but we just get a flat-out brawl. Officials at ringside. Adam Pearce at ringside. Enough. They're trying to break it up. They're trying to stop these two from getting physical. I don't know where Triple H went. Triple H was so against Brock and Oba putting his hands on each other. What did he do? Find a private area for him and Stephanie? Where was Triple H? He disappeared. I don't know. Maybe somebody set off a microwave too close to him. Remember when we used to talk about Hogan with the fucking battery pack in his back? If you really want to fuck up Hulk Hogan, you just turn on like a high powerful microwave. Because I have the spinal stimulator still in me. Hogan had the same spinal stimulator that I did. And you turn on like a really powerful microwave, and Hulk Hogan would be like, what you gonna do? You just get into. So I don't know what happened to Triple H tonight. He was outside. Maybe he was cutting a promo for Netflix or something. Maybe he was talking to Nick Khan, but we got all the officials trying to break this up. We get a spear to an official, and then we get to go to sleep to Roman Reigns. And then CM Punk power bombs Roman Reigns through a table. And they're selling that CM Punk has got this crazy look on his face. That's nice and everything, but then 15 seconds later, once his music hits, he's smiling with everybody at ringside. He's standing on the barricades. Let me see if I can walk around the whole ring, standing on top of the barricade. Even fell off once or twice. CM Punk didn't look all crazy-eyed a few seconds later. But, my favorite part of the whole segment is when CM Punk had Roman Reigns laid out, put him to a table, and he's sitting next to Roman Reigns, and he starts mocking the serenading of Roman Reigns. And while CM Punk is mocking the serenade, he's beating up Roman Reigns. So if you just picture, I know this is reminiscent of Cody Rhodes and WrestleMania, but this is the only prop that I have here tonight. If this is Roman Reigns' head, he's like, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns. Funny shit, man. And that's how it went off the air. I loved it. Sometimes you don't need promo. Tonight was good enough. So that means next week, CM Punk will probably be laid out unconscious. And then you got one more Raw, and that's it. Actually, I just thought about it. Next week, Roman Reigns is not on TV. If you remember the schedule, the next to last Raw before WrestleMania, Roman Reigns is not on. So Roman Reigns, they wrote him off TV next week. So that means CM Punk will probably have interaction with the Usos next week instead. And then the following week, Roman Reigns returns. So that was your Raw tonight. I enjoyed it. I thought it was decent. Again, my little quirks, nothing's going to be perfect, but man, Netflix just aggravating the shit out of me with that stuff. Totally unnecessary what they're doing. Totally unnecessary. So, all right. We're only about an hour in. So we got some news to get into as well. We got some interesting stuff. Let me give you the updated lineup for WrestleMania, because as of right now, 12 matches. It's only going to be between 12 and 14. This might be your lineup. I personally think you need 2 more matches. You have to. I don't know if you'll get any more than 2, but they absolutely need to add, in my opinion. Because right now, these 12 matches, as it is, let me share with you the lineup. CM Punk defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Randy Orton. Stephanie Vaquer defending the Women's World Championship against Liv Morgan. Take note, no special stipulations except for one match right now. We have Jade Cargill defending the Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley. Obafemi taking on Brock Lesnar. AJ Lee defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. Sami Zayn defending the United States title against Trick Williams. And then you have Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in an unsanctioned match. That's what was announced prior to Raw tonight. After Raw, 4 additional matches. Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor is official. Penta defending the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match against JD McDonough, Rusev, Dragon Lee, and Javon Evans. Gunther will be challenging Seth Rollins on a one-on-one, and a fatal four-way for the women's tag team titles. Lash Legend and Nia Jax will defend against the Bellas, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. Oof. I tell you, Jim Conn brings up Carmelo Hayes. I know we're not supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it. It sure felt like Melo, not this year's WrestleMania. You're going to have to lose that title right before it. And we're going to give it to Sami Zayn so he can defend it at WrestleMania. Thank you for keeping it warm. Thank you for keeping it warm. Now, I got it from here. That's what it felt like. It felt, you know what it felt like? It felt like a baseball player who's out with an injury. And, somebody stands in for them and kills it and does a tremendous job playing the game and is on a streak and just even playing better than what you had before. And then the person's off the disabled list. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I got it from here. That's what it felt like to me. That's what it felt like to me to Carmelo Hayes. I know we're not supposed to say that, but that's sure how it felt to me. All right. Now, let me briefly talk about the legacy wing. All right. Now, we found out over the last week that Sid Justice is going into the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame. And we have Bad News Brown also going in the legacy wing in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, my original thumbnail said amazing reveal. I changed that. If you look at the thumbnail now, it says interesting reveal. I just didn't have a chance to update my thumbnail here, but I think it's an interesting reveal because I have something fascinating. I think it's fascinating that you'll want to know. A lot of people are not thrilled that Sid Vicious is being put in a legacy wing. A lot of people aren't thrilled that the way some names are being left out. Now, there was a couple of years that we had no inductees in the legacy wing. Now, people are still questioning, the motive with putting Sid in the legacy wing. He deserves more, and some other names recently, even Kamala, and, there's been a few over recent years. People just feel like that's kind of shortchanging it. Now, if you remember last week's show, I said that if I'm WWE, I would have 4 or 5 every year put in a legacy wing and you do a video package. Just do a video package. Video package could be 5 to 7 minutes long. that will be shorter than one person doing an induction speech for one other person. You could bang out 5 people in 5 to 7 minutes with a nice video package. We know how awesome WWE is with video packages, but they're not doing that. Then I got a DM from someone who I have communicated with for many years that works behind the scenes at WWE and enlightened me on a few things about the legacy wing you absolutely want to know about. All right. Now, again, forgive me about the amazing reveal. I wouldn't call it amazing, but it's very interesting. When I last week said that sometimes people are put in the Hall of Fame based on family, okay, I was told over the weekend that that is accurate in a lot of ways, except for the legacy wing going forward. And you'll find this very, very interesting, okay? I want to share with you briefly every person who is inducted into the legacy wing of the WWE. Major props to anyone out there that figures out something that a lot of these people have in common. All right, I'm going to just read the names. It's not a very long list. And then we'll get into what's going on with Sid Vicious and Bad News Brown and what is changed with WWE's Hall of Fame and how it's being handled going forward as far as the legacy wing. The class of 2016, Mildred Burke, Frank Gotch, George Hackenschmidt, Ed Strangler Lewis, Pat O'Connor, Luthez, Art Thomas. Class of 2017, Martin Burns, June Byers, Haystacks Calhoun, Judy Grable, Dr. Jerry Graham, Luther Lindsay, Toots Mont, Ricky Dozen, and Bearcat Wright. Class of 2018, Cora Combs, Lord Alfred Hayes, Rufus R. Jones, Jim Londis, Boris Malenko, Hiro Matsuda, Sputnik Monroe, El Santo, Dara Singh, Stan Stasiak. Class of 2019, Jim Barnett, Bruiser Brody, Primo Canera, Joe, we'll get back to that person. S.D. Jones, Wild McDaniel, Playboy Buddy Rhodes, Hisashi Shinma, Professor Toro Tanaka, Luna Vachon. Class of 2020, Brickhouse Brown, Gary Hart, Baron Michelle Leone, Raider Crippler Stevens, Dr. Death Steve Williams. Class of 21, Paul Bosch, Dick the Bruiser, Ethel Johnson, Buzz Sawyer, Pez Watley. Class of 2025, Dory Funk Sr., Ivan Koloff, and Kamala. And this year, Bad News Brown and Sid Vicious. Anybody find something in common? There's only one name that I did not say out of that entire 10 years of legacy. And it is on this thumbnail. And this was what somebody sent me. That is the Hall of Fame, I think, class of 2019. You see somebody there wearing a suit next to Luna Vachon? That is someone by the name of Joe Cohen. Joe Cohen, when he got his Hall of Fame ring, Vince McMahon put a note on the ring. No Joe, no WWE. This guy is basically the one who was instrumental of creating the Madison Square Garden network, the USA Network. He basically is the reason why WWE was able to get to WrestleMania and go where they were. This guy was probably, if not the most important person behind the scenes next to Vince McMahon that led to the success early on. Vince McMahon put him in the WWE Hall of Fame of 2019. Why is he so unique from everybody else I just mentioned? If your answer is he doesn't wrestle, you are correct, but that has nothing to do with this. The legacy wing, when I share this with you, you're going to be like, oh my God, everybody is dead. everybody in the legacy wing, when they're put in the Hall of Fame, is deceased. And when you go into the WWE Hall of Fame, unless you are a rare example like a Bray Wyatt, you go into the legacy wing when you're deceased. How they are handling the legacy wing gradually, not yet, but gradually. And I got this firsthand. I'm not going to write no news articles. You enjoy what I do. I enjoy giving you something. I don't need props for this. WWE would like family to be there and accept these awards. But if a family in the future does not want to accept an award for someone who is deceased, they'll put them in anyway. It's not happening yet because there's so many names. But that's why, if you remember last year, look at some of the old news articles. Kamala signs a Legend deal. I swear to God, Ringside News and a couple of websites still have up there, Kamala signs a Legends deal. I'm like, really? That's fucking impressive in 2025? That's fucking amazing. You know, considering that Kamala's been deceased, the family signed a Legends deal. So if they could put someone in, get a Legends deal, and be able to use them for merchandise in the future, they would prefer to put people in the legacy wing at the, I don't want to say the endorsement of the family, but the family being a willing participant in it. But if it comes down the line in the future, some people don't even have immediate family. My God, look at what we talked about last week about Paul Bearer. His son just passed away. The entire immediate family now is deceased. So if Paul Bearer, let's just say, wasn't in the Hall of Fame yet, you're now talking about a nephew, a niece, like grandchild, if he has any, to accept it for him. No immediate family anymore. So that is what's going on with the legacy wing. They are moving away from people who are dead in the main class, unless it's somebody really out of the ordinary. Listen, Hogan was already in the Hall of Fame, but if Hogan was not in the Hall of Fame, he would not be going in the legacy wing. Bray Wyatt would shock the shit out of me if they did legacy wing. But the legacy wing is pretty much people who are deceased. Joe Cohen is the only person to ever go in the legacy wing while he was alive, because Vince wanted to put him in, because that's how much he meant to Vince McMahon in the WWE. That is a true story. So this way, in the future, when people talk about legacy wing and they're questioning why this person's going in the legacy, not the main, now you understand. Legacy wing, deceased. Current class, living, unless it's a real big exception. So there you go. I wasn't clickbaiting you guys. When this was given to me, I'm like, I can't believe how logical that is. It makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world. So I wanted to share that with all of you. Now, couple other tidbits, and we still have some pretty awesome stuff to get into still. Did you know that AEW is going head-to-head with TNA this Thursday? Bet you didn't know that. Oh, we have the thumbnail all ready to go. This Thursday, April 2nd, AEW Collision airs on a special night. It's going to start at 8 p.m. on TNT. So this Thursday, it's going to be Impact going up head-to-head with AEW Collision. I'm sure there's a lot of places out there that did not report that, but I figured I'd share with you. A little head-to-head action there. Got a couple of updates for you. I don't even know where to begin. You know what? Let's bring up Tama Tonga first. Do I have Tama Tonga's info over here? Let me see what I have. You know what? We'll save Dave Meltzer for a few minutes. Yeah, Tama Tonga. A lot of you know Tama Tonga was fined about 10 grand, because of revealing some footage behind the scenes. Yes, we were the first people to call it his version of WWE Unreal. A lot of people picked up on that like a week or two after the fact. But here's the funny thing about it. If you remember his video last week, Tama Tonga acting like a cocky asshole. I'm not a fan. I am a fan of Tama Tonga. But in case you need a refresher, this is what Tama Tonga said on his live stream about being fined. Probably not what you would want to say when TKO is watching.
But it's all good. All good. It was worth it. I had to go to my happy place. After that shenanigans, I had to go to the world's happiest place to get myself smiling again. Nah, I've been smiling. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is, man, we get hit with something, you just take the hit and keep on moving. Can't let that bring you down, you know? You just gotta keep on moving. Am I in a doghouse? I've been in a doghouse my whole life. No getting out of the doghouse. Yeah, I move in life like I'm in the doghouse always, which I don't give a rats.
Yeah, I ain't joining your fan club. I don't give a rat's ass. Probably not what you want to say when you have a lot of stuffed shirts that are not wrestling people signing your check. Right after he did that live stream, he posted on X, quote, "Thanks for joining me live. Yes, I was fined. Deserved. I knew better. A careless mistake, lesson learned. Take the hit and move on back to work." So I think once that live stream ended, with all due respect, this is not like Enzo Amore signing your check. These are people that don't give a flying fuck about Tama Tonga. I think he realized, yeah, I better be a little bit more, correct about this. Not this, I don't give a rat's ass, because you're very expendable in WWE. And I like Tama Tonga. Out of the entire, next to Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga is my second favorite. Glad that he wisened up and he's like, yeah, I better shut the fuck up. And by the way, I can't show you the video, but I had a few of you asking me, DT, could you share a little bit of footage of what Tama Tonga posted? This is what he posted on his TikTok. If you look in the left-hand lower corner, that is Solo Sikoa. I think that is Michael P.S. Hayes and Tenzai on the railing on the entranceway. I could be wrong. And as you see, there are wrestlers working out in the ring prior to SmackDown. And yes, the video quality is fucking awful. This is the best quality footage that is available. You couldn't even make out who is in the ring, and WWE fined them over 10 grand. It's hilarious because of the unreal aspect of it. That was the first thing that we brought up. If you remember, when we originally talked about this, the first thing I said is Tama Tonga put his version of WWE Unreal on video, and fucking WWE immediately fined his ass. That's how corporate and organized WWE Unreal is. And they absolutely nah. We're not allowing this. And people find it ridiculous. And I think him getting fined as much as he did I don't think he deserved that kind of a fine. Especially, if he would have zoomed in and saw close-ups of the people in the ring, especially if you have opponents laughing it up, that's different. It was so fucking far away. I think that was a little unfair. So just figured I'd share it. Got another update for you. And this is fabulous. The sad thing about it is we really don't have any photos of her. This is the best photo I could find. But, if you remember on Wednesday, we got into some details about this story that no one else really got into because they didn't pay attention to the district attorney's website. No disrespect towards WrestleNomics, but all of these numbnuts in the wrestling news world, WrestleNomics got the court documents. No, anybody could go to the Brooklyn District Attorney's website and download them. It's just that they are the ones that are not lazy, and they download it. And then everybody copies it from them and gives them credit for it. Any of you out there can read this on your own. This is what this, ugh. If you look at the left, it looks like if Charlotte Flair ate 5,000 yodels. That's kind of what she, doesn't it? Doesn't she look like a very grotesque, obese Charlotte Flair? I don't know. She kind of looks, that's what the vibe I get from her. Charlotte Flair is a very beautiful woman. But this is her. This is her. I want to share with you some additional details that you will find fucking fascinating. And there is a political aspect of this. Now, for people that don't know the story, I'll just tell you very quickly what went down. All right. This woman that lives in my neck of the woods, about 15 minutes away from where I live, got arrested and is being charged with stealing $2.8 million from a preschool in Brooklyn. Now, here's the amazing details about this, because there is a WWE tie with this. The name of the preschool is called Kinderhaus. Now, if that sounds German, Kinderhaus, it should, because the preschool holds about 100 kids. Most of the kids are from Switzerland and Germany, and each family pays on average about $50,000 a year to have their kids enrolled in this preschool. Just imagine you have kids from Switzerland and Germany paying $50,000 a year to go to fucking preschool. Go to preschool, not college, preschool. So she was hired in 2013. And during the pandemic in 2020, she became the director. So her mother is from Switzerland. She speaks German. Almost every kid and their parents in this school are of German and Swiss descent. So now you see how important she is. So when she became director, and this is fabulous, I'm going to share with you details I promise you haven't seen anywhere, because in New York especially, they're not going to bring up certain things. When I give you the final sentence on this, you'll be like, what? Is that how people that's like what the hip hop girl does. Like, what? I've never done it in my life. Like, I've never had somebody tell me something so outrageous and I'd be just standing there and go, what? When I heard this, I was like, what? So let me keep the ugly picture on the screen. Let me tell you a little bit more about this winner. So what she did was, you had families signing up for their kids in preschool, and she was in charge with handling the finances. She set up a PayPal account belonging to her name. And what happened was, some of the tuition was being deposited into her account. So just think $50,000 a kid, and some of these tuitions are going directly into her PayPal account. She makes $40,000 a year. She makes less than what the parents pay to have one kid go to that preschool, okay? She took 450 fraudulent payments over a 3-year period and moved it to her account. She stole she's alleged of stealing $2.8 million, 350,000 of it. This is where it gets amazing. 350,000 of it went to WWE and TKO VIP packages over the last 2.5 years. Now, I said this last week. How many times has WWE come to New York over the last 2.5 years? 4, 6? She spent $350,000 on VIP packages so she could meet wrestlers, so her kids could meet wrestlers. 350 grand. That is on average $60,000 per show. It gets better. I have a video clip that is just beautiful. Oh my God, you will be, the whole show I did tonight, you will enjoy this entire show for a 5-second clip. I promise you that. So she stole all of this money. And the worst part about it was, she was deleting emails. She handled everything. So she was deleting emails. Kids were being enrolled. Some kids, no money ever reached the school. And she's accused of stealing $2.8 million. All right. Here's the most fascinating part of this story. doing a little checking about her. I tried to get into her Instagram account, not hacking. I tried to see if there's any remnants online, because she was bragging to her friends and family of these WWE things, pictures with all the top wrestlers. I can't specify any particular wrestler because I don't have proof. So I don't want to start naming people. But she was boasting on social media about this. Some people at her job started questioning, how is she spending this money? She spent $150,000 in 1 year on Uber Eats. Again, she's got more chins than a Chinese phone book. That's a lot. That's $150,000 in Uber Eats going to that chin on the left side of the picture. And listen, I should talk. I'm a fatty patty as well, but I don't steal $150,000 for Uber Eats. I don't steal $350,000 so I could do a meet and greet with fucking R-Truth. All right? But she spent money, and people were questioning, where are you getting this money from? And she says, oh, my mother's rich. My mother lives in Switzerland. And then they found the embezzlement. They originally fined her, and then they realized it's almost $3 million, so the feds kicked in. While I'm doing my research, you know what I found out? If you enjoy this story, I promise you, no wrestling news site will dare say what I'm about to say, because it's not politically correct. She's got no legal status in the United States. Think about that. In New York, they allow people who are undocumented, illegal, overstay your visa, whatever. I personally think she overstood a visa. In New York, it doesn't matter. I'm sure a lot of you recently heard about that principal, was it Baltimore, who was like one of the highest people in the state in education. And not only was he an illegal alien, but he's a felon and was convicted on like gun possession. I'm sure a lot of you saw it because the guy cried racism. This woman may be in this country illegally. No one is talking about that because you're not supposed to talk about that. Let that sink in. She stole almost $3 million, alleged of stealing almost $3 million. And from what I have found, she's undocumented. Or I should say, she is not in this country legally right now. I personally think she just probably overstood her visa, but in New York, they don't care. In New York, that's fine. And think of the position that she was in. Now, when she had an arraignment, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. It's a big deal. Wrestling news sites are all drooling over this because you look at the wrestling websites, how they cover this. The New York Post was the only news journalist that were at the arraignment. And the guy posted a video. And to me, I'm not a fan of the New York Post, but I got to find out the name of this reporter, and I got to shout him out next week. I thought I accidentally was playing it on loop. Then I realized, no, he actually shared it playing 5 times in a row. When he confronted this woman about her arrest, you would think if news people are questioning her, what did you do with the money? You know, like, do you feel bad about all those kids that the money didn't go to the preschool? What do you have to say about that? You know what this journalist asked her? I'll let you hear it for yourself. It's beautiful.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
I love it.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Who's your favorite wrestler? Who's your favorite wrestler? I fucking love it. Who's your favorite wrestler? One more time.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
That's amazing, man. He fucking asked her who's her favorite wrestler and she didn't answer. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's beautiful. That is great. But, listen, I said this Wednesday. It got no traction. I'll say it again now. If I'm TKO in WWE, this story's out there now, you donate $350,000 to this preschool. You got $350,000 TKO in WWE from dirty money. Do the right thing. Write out a check to Kinderhouse Preschool and give them the $350,000. You know, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. But if I'm WWE and TKO, write that check. You know they're not going to do that. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. But there you go. Little update. I figured you probably would want to know that. All right, we got more. Let me just delete this here because we got a lot of scattered news over here. Okay. I told all of you about 2.5 months ago that Netflix was going to be increasing their prices. I appreciate some of you out there who remembered. It has now been made official, and they are now increasing their standard plan from $7.99 a month to $8.99. You also have the premium plan increasing $2 to $26.99. The standard plan with no ads in high definition, but not 4K, is $19.99 a month, going up from $17.99 a month. So that increase that we told you about 2.5, 3 months ago, it is now happening. So that Netflix increase is here. When you realize that Netflix spent $50 million so the World Baseball Classic can be shown on Netflix in Japan only, $50 million. So Japanese Netflix subscribers could watch the World Baseball Classic. You know, in the end, everybody pays. Everybody pays. Quick injury update. It appears that Steve Macklin suffered a concussion at TNA No Surrender. So their championship match, him and Mike Santana, did not go down. So sacrifice. You had Mike Santana and Steve Macklin go to a no contest, obviously. System defeated Jeff Hardy and Vincent. Mara Sade over Elena Black in an ODQ match. Moose over Eddie Edwards. Order 4 defeated Trey Miguel and Jada Stone in an intergender tag match. For the Knockouts title in a triple threat, Ariana Grace retained, defeated Li Ying Li and Donnie Luna. Frankie Kazarian and AJ Francis, the other AJ, and I say that jokingly, defeated Elijah and the Hometown Man. Leon Slater retained the X Division Championship over Eric Young. Tessa Blanchard defeated Jody Threat, and Ryan Nemeth defeated BDE. So those are your sacrifice results. Yeah, you know what? I could share this now. You remember this thumbnail from Wednesday? Let me pull this up. Hold on. I know we got it. Oh, here we go. If some of you remember this beautiful thumbnail. I don't AI everything. I Photoshop. The outrageous WWE TKO VIP packages, the outrageous packages are starting to bleed into the international market. Italy is the first market to really get hit with the biggie. All right. As we discussed on Wednesday, for $11,500, you get a front row ticket to Clash in Italy. You also get to meet some wrestlers backstage VIP. You get to take a picture at ringside. I don't have all the specs in front of me, but you also get to drink some wine, and you will have a WWE wrestler make pasta. So for $11,500, that's what you get. We heard that the person most likely to be making the pasta is Liv Morgan. Liv is Italian. Liv, I guess, knows how to cook. She's actually said that in a couple of interviews she's done outside of wrestling. A lot of people think that she is the one likely to be doing this. But $11,500 per person if you want this. Now, while everyone out there is fixated on WrestleMania and tickets going down, let me tell you that this package actually went up in price. There's still some packages for $11,500, but based on the seating chart in this arena, some of the packages went up to $13,000. If you get a front row ticket, see what you have the option is, and you could look it up yourself. I'm not going to do all that research for you, but if you look at the seating plan, there are tickets on the ringside area, and then there are tickets up the rampway. If you want to sit front row up the rampway, $11,500. If you want to sit ringside front row, $13,000. This plan, if you thought it was going to go down in price, it went up $1,500. Here's the most amazing thing about it also. Of the packages, $11,500 and $13,000. So far, they have sold a total of 2. They've sold 2 tickets so far. Not only that, if you want to get some of these packages, but you want to spend a little bit less, just to show you how bad WWE is treating Italians. I'm a little biased because you know me, I'm Italian too. But check this out. If you want to sit in the 3rd row instead of the 1st row, and you don't want pasta and you don't want wine, $7,450. If you want to sit 4th row, no wine, no pasta, you get everything else. No ringside pitcher either, $6,400. If you want to sit in the next section, or if you want to sit in a bad area like around ringside, but you know, like 14th row, $3,600. Section 118, which is the first section above the floor, $1,775 per person. So you look at the seating chart, there are tickets. There's tickets for sale in section 200, which is 2 sections above the floor. Average ticket price, $1,150. So just so you understand how much money WWE is charging for these people in Italy. As of right now, only two people out there, as of right now, are going to be eating pasta and drinking wine with Liv Morgan. So I figured I'd share that. Figured some of you out there would get a kick out of it because I know a lot of people aren't going to do that research. So let's start bringing this home a little bit. We got more. We definitely got some more. Some Natty news. And I had to finish it with a positive thing so we're not brutal on Natty. If I ever meet her at like the big event, I don't need to be stretchered and I'm crying like a baby. Please, I didn't mean it. What's that phrase that Natty says? Natalia elevates, Natty decimates. Well, I've added a little bit to it. Natalia elevates, Natty decimates, and neither participates at WrestleMania. Because we found out that Natalia, Natty Neidhart, will be taking on Shayna Baszler at Bloodsport 15 WrestleMania weekend. So Natalia may elevate and Natty may decimate, but neither will participate WrestleMania weekend. They will be headlining Bloodsport. So a lot of people are interested in this because Shayna Baszler, obviously. WWE actually has some names on this card. If you're going to be in Vegas, this might be something you want to check out. It's on Friday, April 17th. They're advertising Shayna versus Natty, Charlie Dempsey versus Timothy Thatcher, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ray Jazz, Pete Dunne over Mashi Takeda, Royce Isaacs versus Shane Mercer, Matt Mako versus Angel Verduzzo, Uka Sasaki versus Joe Dasho, Eric Stevens versus Fudamori Abi, and Josh Barnett will be taking on Yuji Nagata. There's a name from the past. Not a bad card, but you know, if you were thinking that Natty was going to get Maxine Dupree 3 at WrestleMania, you are disappointed. So, remember we were talking about this bullshit, the Kill Tony special event, that Tony Hinchcliffe event that they canceled last year. And like I said last week, I think they're doing this to entertain themselves. Well, we found out that this is actually going to air on Netflix, but it will air 2 days later. It is going to be edited Some wrestlers are going to say some wild shit that WWE does not want people to document. This is going to be scrubbed. It's going to be offensive. But for anyone out there that was curious to see how far are they going to go with this event, it is going to air on Netflix, but it is going to be scrubbed a little bit. So it will be available on Netflix, I believe, the Monday after WrestleMania weekend. So just a little programming note, because I have a feeling some of you out there would want to know that. So, oh, by the way, oh shit, I did do a little research too. Anybody curious what the ticket prices are? Anybody curious? The cheapest seat I could find, $76. The most expensive seat I could find, $590. This is not a $25 event for like a nightclub where you just go have a couple of drinks and listen to Tony Hinchcliffe do his podcast. $600 if you want to sit anywhere near the stage. Just figured I'd share that. So, some ratings. I'm a little surprised on how bad NXT's ratings continue. First, we have TNA Impact for March 26th, 256,000 viewers, up from the previous week's 250. AEW Dynamite for March 25th. There we go. There we go. That was highlighted by Swerve versus Kenny. EVP versus number one contenders match. Did 765,000 viewers, up from the previous week's 730. And then we had NXT for March 24th, 581,000 viewers, slightly down from the previous week's 588. They're struggling to get over 600,000, which to me is very disappointing. And it's been like that for quite some time. As far as the go-home show for Stand and Deliver, because we will do predictions on Wednesday, they are advertising contract signing for the four-way for the NXT Championship. Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, and Tony D'Angelo. Lola Vice will take on Kendall Gray for a shot at the women's title at Stand and Deliver. Mike Santana, Bronco Nima, and Lucian Price versus Dean Lennox, Saquon Sugars, and Osiris Griffin. Kiana Carver versus Jasper Troy. Jada Parker versus Kalani Jordan. Los Americanos versus Birthright. Winner of that match gets a title shot at Stand and Deliver for the tag titles. And Tatum Paxley will have a face-to-face with Blake Monroe. So there you go. On the AEW side, I thought I had a thumbnail for them. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Oh, no, I do. I do. Dynamite for this Wednesday. Contract signing, Kenny Omega and MJF. Will Ospreay will take on Pac. Kenny Omega, Brody King and Jack Perry versus Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona. Mina Shirakawa, Jamie Hayter, and Alex Windsor versus Thekla, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. That is what's being advertised for Dynamite. All right. Get off my screen. Okay. Got a couple other tidbits I think you'll get a kick out of. Try not to leave anything out. We'll get into a couple of super shout-outs momentarily. We got a couple to get into. A couple of trademarks that were filed. And I think some of this is common sense. Danhausen applied to trademark, "You are cursed." He's going to make killing off of that. And I'm surprised he's trademarking and not WWE, but Danhausen just filed to trademark "You are cursed." I think we're a little surprised that he hadn't had that already. WWE filed a trademark for Club WWE. And I don't think I took a screenshot of it, but oh, yes, I did. Earlier tonight, one of the backstage segments, I know you really can't see it, but they have these stickers now that say Club WWE. We don't have any details yet what this is, but apparently it's going to be some type of fan club membership deal. I don't know what you'll actually get with it, but they just trademarked Club WWE. Jericho just filed to trademark the name Cornerstone, not Hammerstone, but Cornerstone. And Leo Rush has trademarked Blackheart, Leo Rush. If anybody remembers old school Don Tony, Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline. 24 years ago, 24, 25 years ago, the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hub. We were the original Blackhearts. T-shirts and all. Let's see. We got Tony Khan, Vince Russo. We got the Dave Meltzer. Got to get into that. AEW. They have ceased their podcast. Unrestricted podcast. They had about a 5-year run. There's been no reason given as to why they stopped that podcast, but apparently they're going to be launching something else in its place. Not immediate, but another podcast is supposed to come out. Also, their separation from Triller TV continues. Triller TV now will no longer accept any new memberships for AEW Plus. So that is just another nail in the coffin as far as AEW's relationship with Triller TV. That's something you definitely want to know, because they're not accepting any new memberships for AEW Plus. This got a lot of attention today, and I think this probably took some people by surprise. I've always been a supporter of Vince Russo. I'm probably the longest person still subscribed to his Patreon. Back when it was Pyro and Ballyhoo, I was subscribed. I'm still a subscriber. That's how many years I've been subscribing, but I also subscribe to people that he doesn't get along with. There was a weird exchange that went down the last couple of days with Tony Khan and Vince Russo. And this is the only way I could describe it is this way. Somebody contacted Coach about Vince Russo being on their podcast. And the Coach answered. And then Tony Khan responded. And this is how it went down. The Coach said, we have an open invitation for Tony Khan to come on our show. We had a great conversation today with one of his female stars, Maya. If he came on the show like ours instead of podcast of people that will only ask questions they want to know instead of asking questions to make him think. Tony Khan responded to Coach and said, get a load of this. I would love to come on the show with you and Vince Russo. Coach, I've been a fan of yours, of both of yours, for many years. Also, I think that Vince is doing a tremendous job with JCW Lunacy, which I enjoy very much. Holy fuck. What? Tony Khan's a fan of Vince Russo and Coach's podcast. Who'd ever thought that? Well, Vince Russo responded. I'm going to share with you his response. The best way I could interpret his reaction is somebody who you've been trying to ask on a date, and then finally the person says to you, I'll go out with you Friday night, and you go out on a date Friday night and you ask them, you want to get married? Like, we're just going on a date. And if you think I'm exaggerating, this is Vince Russo's response to what Tony Khan said. Tony, I got it confirmed on a good word that you really do enjoy JCW Lunacy. While that's cool and much appreciated, give me a follow back. Let's talk creative. Let's do something that'll blow the WWE into oblivion. You've heard about me over the years, but if you've never had the opportunity to get to know me, let's give them something to talk about. Isn't that a song? Let's give them something to talk about. I hate that song. Look, I'm a supporter of Vince Russo, obviously. But, easy. Vince, she agreed to go out with you. You know, she doesn't want to commit to marriage yet. My God. And he does that. You know that. Like, didn't Jim Cornette recently tell a story that Vince Russo emailed Vince McMahon and Vince responded? And because Vince responded, Vince Russo interpreted like, oh, we're buddies now. And listen, you should do this. Like, I know you're excited, but relax. Bring him on. Have the conversation. But I'm a little skeptical about it because I have to bring this up. This is not exaggeration. Got to talk about Dave Meltzer. Okay. Dave Meltzer calls himself a journalist. You could choose government You could choose entertainment. You could choose sports. You could choose whatever you want. A good reporter does not avoid asking questions because they know someone doesn't want to answer them. A good reporter seeks out answers. Not gotcha. I want to make this clear. Some people in the wrestling news world, media world, like to play gotcha. That's why Triple H don't do media scrums no more. There's a difference between being a good reporter and someone who does gotcha. And this is not exaggeration. Dave Meltzer, as much as I like the man, respect the man, always appreciate what that guy did way back when with some of my causes and some of the things I was involved with, there is no way of denying this now. Dave Meltzer is no longer a journalist, and I'll show you why. I'm sure a lot of you heard about this. Dave Meltzer went on his podcast a couple of days ago, and he said that he knows for a fact that Tony Khan does not want to talk about putting in a bid to buy WWE and Tony Storm, okay? He specifically went on his podcast and said that those topics are hands off. Dave Meltzer, with all due respect, your job is to serve the governed, not the governors. When you start supporting the people in charge, you're no longer a journalist. You are public relations. When you go to journalism school, one of the biggest no-nos is to avoid certain topics because you think that the person you're interviewing doesn't want to answer them. A reporter is supposed to seek out the truth. What Dave Meltzer did on his podcast the other day, and make no fucking mistake about it, and if anyone out there in the media world challenges me on this, you know for a fact it's a lie. And I'm not disrespecting anybody in the media world because no one has done this, but I want to give fair warning. What Dave Meltzer did was he sent a message to the wrestling world. If you want to interview Tony Khan, you have been warned. Do not bring up Tony Storm. Do not bring up the bid to buy WWE. That is not a reporter. That is a public relations person. If you go on fucking Amazon and look up the Cliff Notes, journalism for dummies, you could find the most basic book on becoming a journalist. One of the biggest no-nos is to turn around and avoid certain questions because you know the person that you are interviewing does not want to answer them. If you're a journalist, if you're a reporter, you're supposed to ask the questions, and if they don't want to answer it, you got it on record. That's why I've always said, if you notice with a lot of people out there, you never ever see them say, we reached out to Triple H for comment and received no reply. We reached out to Gail Kim for comment and received no reply. We reached out to Jim Cornette for comment and received no reply. We reached out to Tony Khan for comment and received no reply. We reached out to Cody Rhodes for comment and received no reply. We reached out to Vince McMahon's legal team for comment and received no reply. They don't do it because, remember, a lot of people out there don't want to know the answer, because if they know the answer, then and it's not what they're reporting, they can't report it anymore. Because if you report it anyway, then you're intentionally putting up fake news. That's why, how many times have you seen in the past, Dave Meltzer put a story out there, and then the person he's talking about says, Dave, why didn't you just reach out to me? I don't mean to bring up personal. Royce Keys is a great example. Other people are a great example. Why don't you just reach out to me? I'm just saying, just in general, like, why put that out there? If you want an answer for something, why didn't you just reach out to me? Many people say that. And the thing is, Dave putting that out there was sending a message to other people out there. If you want to interview Tony Khan, do not bring up those topics. And that's not a journalist. That is a PR person. And I'm not even labeling him that. Go Google it. Go AI it. Go fucking research it. Go look up, schools. That's one of the biggest no-nos in the journalism world, to do what Dave Meltzer did the other day. And he did it, and most people just ignored it. Not because they're ignoring Dave Meltzer, but I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear it, but we're not going to ask him those questions. Listen, I want to make this perfectly clear. Tony Storm does not owe us an explanation. Tony Khan does not have to give us an explanation. But you don't turn around and avoid the question because the person is going to feel a little uncomfortable about it. You ask the question, the person says, I can't comment on that. Fine, you got him on record. But to turn around and say, those two topics are off limits, you're not a journalist. And that goes against every school of journalism. Think I'm lying? Go look it up. Go look it up. Here's another funny one. Chelsea Green. Oh, this is beautiful. Just think about WWE. Just think about how strict they are that wrestlers don't do outside activities. You know, I always remember wrestlers in the past. You know, you can't compete in it. Logan Paul, you can't do this, you can't do that. This person can't compete here. You know, Chelsea Green. Last week, there was a few people in the media world that I thought it was cute. There was some, I think Ringside News was one, and they're like, my sources tell me that Chelsea Green is on the verge of a return. How many of you read that story last week? I'm sure you've seen the clip, but the most humorous thing about it is a lot of those secondary and tertiary news sites out there, that's it, my sources told us this. In actuality, you know where they got that story from? They got the story from Chelsea Green at the Pittsburgh Steelers football camp kicking a fucking field goal with the bad ankle.
Here it is.
Thank you. Thank you with a broken ankle. I want to raise, okay? I want to raise.
Do you honestly think WWE and TKO in their fucking right mind would let Chelsea Green kick a field goal with the bad ankle if there was a problem, if she was still rehabbing? That's insane. So for everyone out there, if you heard my sources tell me this, your sources watched the video of Chelsea Green, and I checked. That's the bad ankle. That's not the good one. That's the bad ankle. She kicked, and impressive field goal. Impressive field goal, but for anyone that was curious, yeah, my sources tell me that you watched the video of her kicking the field goal. Ooh, I guess her ankle is better. No shit. But you know what? The bottom line is she is nearing a return, which is good. I have a feeling they may hold her off till after Mania, though. Doesn't it feel like there's no path for Chelsea Green at WrestleMania, other than maybe comedy segments? Maybe we'll see a Danhausen Chelsea Green segment. Don't know. Maybe. All right. Let's bring this home. I don't know if we have anything else. Do we have anything else? We talked about it. Oh, we'll talk about The Rock. And I think that's it. Oh, no. We'll wrap up with Major League Baseball. Yeah, I'll just be very, very brief about that. Something that wrestling fans will appreciate, though. For those that are interested, The Rock will be getting Disney's highest award. It's called the Legends Award. Very creative. He's going to be honored by Walt Disney, and not him, he's dead in the ground, the Walt Disney Company. It's going to be at D23, which is the Disney Fan Fest that takes place in August. It's hosted by Ryan Seacrest, so I guess it's a big deal. And some of the other people that are getting this Legacy Award this year is, here's the names. Chris Berman, back. That annoying fuck. Remember that? He's the one, the Swami. He's the one that always had the nicknames. Like if you heard my Patreon on Thursday, Havili, shout out to Havili, who's a patron and a channel member here on YouTube. Like we would think of nicknames and I would say, Havili, Vanilli, girl, you know it's true. Like that's the Chris Berman, the one on ESPN that always have a nickname for someone and it got really annoying. He's going in. I don't know why. Jerry Bruckheimer, Susan Egan, Eric Goldberg, Anne Hathaway, Bob Iger, Kim Irvine, the Jonas Brothers, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Alan Tudyk? I don't know. I don't know these people. So obviously The Rock has been involved in Disney. He's got that Mona movie. I always call it Kimono Wanalea. You know, like like he's got Mona 3. I always say Kimono Wanalea 3. So yeah, he's going into the Disney Legends Award or whatever. Why you would go to Vegas and not go to WrestleMania baffles me. But for some people out there that expecting to buy WrestleMania tickets at the door, and then unfortunately either spend it on prostitutes or maybe gambling, and then you realize, fuck, we don't have money for Mania. If you want to go instead, there's going to be a WrestleMania viewing party, and it is taking place Saturday, April 18th and Sunday, April 19th. No shit. Starting at 1 p.m. at the Plaza Hotel Casino at Las Vegas. Rob Van Dam will be there. So you could actually watch WrestleMania with Rob Van Dam. And yeah, I don't know why somebody would go all the way to Vegas WrestleMania weekend and then don't go to WrestleMania. So unless you blow your money and you don't have money for it. So, all right, last thing for tonight. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, let me get into a couple of super shout outs and then we'll wrap up with that Netflix disaster. This just, need I say more? Need I say more? And let me tell you something. I'm sorry for Pat McAfee supporters out there. What a fucking tool when he talked about the Netflix MLB game. I'm not going to share any clips with him. I have better things to do, like sleep. But first, I want to just get into a couple of super shout-outs, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the MLB game and some good news about that we won't have to worry about that for quite some time. Brooklyn Pete, thank you, my friend. Does this mean Gunther is now aligned with Brock Lesnar and joining a vision? Why did he attack Seth Rollins? Your guess is as good as mine. Gunther's going to show up next week. Why did Gunther not do anything the last couple of weeks? The only explanation I could give you, spur of the moment, because we went live within 5 minutes of Raw ending, is Paul Heyman did a plan B. Plan G. G for Gunther. Paul Heyman will probably say, of course I saw the emails. What do you think? I'm stupid? All right, I had a plan. But again, that doesn't take away the fact that Brock Lesnar let Seth Rollins walk out of the ring so he could get powerbombed by Obafemi 3 weeks ago. Again, storyline, I get it. I am so looking forward to Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. Actually, I think I'm looking forward to that match just as much as Punk Reigns and Orton Rhodes. No bullshit. But the only excuse I could come up with is Paul Heyman made a deal with Gunther. Just like Rhea Ripley shook the hand of Drew McIntyre. That's the only scenario I could come up with. Gunther, it's so fucking random. Let me put it this way. I will get physically angry next week if I hear Gunther say, because I wanted to. Jackie Redmond, Gunther, or Michael Cole. No, Michael Cole hates Gunther, even though he respected him after his match against Pat McAfee, which was a joke in itself. If Jackie Redmond, Gunther, why did you do that to Seth Rollins? Because I wanted to. Because I wanted to. No. There's got to be more to it. It's got to be Paul Heyman. It's got to be Paul Heyman. And look, if he becomes a Paul Heyman guy, I think we will all be fine with that, right? Brock Lesnar's not being around that long. So if Paul Heyman is going to be an advocate for somebody big besides the Vision, Braun Breaker, of course, but yeah, why not? If Brock is going to be taking time off again after this, I don't think anybody would object, but right now it feels so damn random. It feels so forced and so random. Again, I'm sure we're going to hear my sources tell me that, Braun Breaker was a last-minute decision, and once they realized that the path to WrestleMania is very much in doubt, they decided to go to safe route and give it to Gunther. That's probably what people are going to say. Still feels very forced. Gunther was always a backup plan? No. LA Knight's a backup plan, not Gunther. All right. Thank you very much for that, my friend. Jim Kahn. So Cody and Randy are about to bring the fire And to control things, they send Jelly Roll to give Randy a Hallmark movie speech. What are they doing? I admire Jelly Roll and where he came from. I don't listen to his music. I wouldn't want to go out for drinks with him. I certainly would not want to go to a tattoo parlor with him. I think he genuinely is a good guy. Just like Snoop Dogg. Like in the early days of Snoop Dogg, you know, I still remember, you know, go 187 on a motherfucker, you know the rest. I always thought he was fake early on, you know, and then he became like this fucking TV show game host and everything. I'm like, Snoop? I'm like, he's got to be cashing the checks. Like, look at these fucking morons thinking I'm this big family guy. And then I realized, no, he actually did change over the years. I think Jelly Roll the same. I don't really want to see him on TV. I don't mind him fighting someone lower on the food chain because he cares and he's a crossover and he's got a big following. So you want to have that crossover. The Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes stuff, I can't wait for the Christmas edition of WWE Unreal. And I'm going to be wrapping Christmas gifts and I'm going to watch this fuck in the back talking to creative like, hey, Randy, you could do this. And I'm going to start fucking with my wrapping paper. I know it's a froze fruit, but it'll be like, if whoever's getting Christmas gifts from me this year, if they do WWE Unreal in the Christmas time and your packages look all fucked up, that's because I'm watching Jelly Roll negotiating in the back with Randy. Netflix is fucking WWE up so bad. Unreal. We know what it is. We're not stupid. We grew up. We know we know how the sausage is made. But not only are they showing us, but, you know, doing it with the wrong people. You know, like, why would I care that Jelly Roll is going to a table when I see the negotiation in the back and afterwards, you're right, hey, good spot and everything? No. It makes me dislike Jelly Roll even more. But unfortunately, I'm not the person that's catered to. There is a huge audience that likes it. So as long as that audience pops for it and they don't turn on Jelly Roll, they'll keep doing this on occasion. I can't criticize the man too hard because he puts A for effort. But we have to get used to the fact that this is WWE. That it is, you know, listen, we knew IShowSpeed was going to be all over this. You know, you're going to see social media influencers. You're going to see, you know, Netflix personalities. You know, when you're talking billions of dollars, you know, understand Saudi Arabia, they get more for Saudi Arabia for one event than they do WrestleMania. Just let that fucking sink in for a minute. You know, they get more for one event in Saudi Arabia than they do at some WrestleManias. So when you understand that kind of money involved, and now you got Netflix spending billions, you know, that's 1,000 millions. That's 1,000 millions. You hear about an AEW event, you know, some people like, wow, they did 1.5 million at the gate. And that's a good number. I'm not crapping on that. Now imagine, you know, understand that Netflix gives them 1,000 of them a year. WWE is going to transform into anything Netflix wants them to do. So, you know, this is the crowd that they're catering to. And you best damn believe Saudi Arabia is getting Mania now and getting the Royal Rumble. And Netflix is getting all this extra content. Netflix likes that reality stuff. Just because, and again, WWE's an entertainment company. So everybody there are entertainers. They're all actors and actresses. They're just more physical on the job. But at the end of the day, every single person you watch on television is an actor and an actress. Whether it's somebody you think is more, you know, wrestler than entertainer, at the end of the day, they're all actors and actresses. And they're not suddenly like, you know, we're performers, but just during this, I want everybody to be real, because that's what Netflix wants. No, they're still entertaining. When you got LA Knight talking to that fucking freak from 2 weeks ago that we talked about, I showed you the screenshots. LA Knight is telling him, like, I had no idea that WWE cameras were there, Unreal cameras were there. And meanwhile, when you understand the size of WWE Unreal's cameras and the giant fucking white headlights in LA Knight's face, you could actually see like part of the beam, and he's looking around. And what does he think those cameras are for? You know, for Vince's home video? Like, of course they're WWE Unreal cameras. And he's looking around like, I had no idea. He's an entertainer. And I forgive him for that. He's an entertainer. But unfortunately, this is what it's become. And Jelly Roll, as long as people enjoy it, they'll keep doing it. So, Scorpio, thank you very much for the kind words, my friend. I hope you're enjoying the show, and much love to all of you out there. Thank you again. I appreciate that. Thank you, Scorpio. I appreciate you. Theme parks and things with Johnny, I appreciate him also. He knows not wrestling related, but he heard the Chicago Bulls release someone for his beliefs. I think it was wrong of the Bulls. Well, I'll tell you this much. I don't know the story yet, but I do know that whoever this story is about was on a plane earlier and was venting on something. And I did see some quick response. I didn't watch the video yet, but I was looking at some of the feedback, and a lot of people were saying this guy might be a couple of eggs short of a dozen. That I don't think it's just beliefs. I think there's something bigger going on here, and he just might not be in the right frame of mind. I will get some info on this, and I think you're on Patreon also. I'll talk about it on Thursday also. I don't know if it's something that we would talk about on the wrestling shows, but I'm going to look into it. I'm definitely intrigued by it because the video popped up before, and I was looking at some of the results, like, okay, this looks pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna see. Yeah, Michael Gonzalez says that he went off on a lot of things. I think there's a lot more to this story, but you know, sometimes if someone is just mentally not in a good place, sometimes giving them a little break, even if that person is like, you know, I'm sure that guy's pissed the fuck off right now, but he may not realize how much of a bad state that he's in. Some people, when they are in a bad state, don't realize that they're in a bad state. There's nothing wrong with me. Shut up. You know, but might be the best for him. So I'll definitely look into it. And I'll definitely follow up on that. Absolutely. So one thing I won't follow up is Major League Baseball on Netflix. I will tell everybody right now, and I'll be very, very quick with this. I don't think we should really be too concerned about Major League Baseball on Netflix unless Netflix offers them something 3, 4, 5 years from now where they get to air lots of games. But I watched the MLB debut on Netflix the other day. It was the Yankees shutting out the Giants. And I tell you, man, it wasn't all bad. Don't get me wrong. Seeing Barry Bonds being an analyst was cool. Albert Pujols is cool. Some of the journalists that were there is cool. But the whole pre-show for opening day was an advertisement for Netflix. Right down to this Burt fuck announcing the players on the Giants. This guy is in the fucking bay with a Corona in his hand with no shirt on because that's his gimmick, trying to catch a home run ball. The funny thing is that hardcore baseball fans that wanted to see opening day hated the whole pre-show with Major League Baseball. There was even a point where the Usos, Jimmy and Jay Uso, was sitting in the stands and some guy's interviewing him and he's eating candies and stuff. And they were interviewing people. And a lot of you know about the ABS system now where you could challenge balls and strikes, and you only limited. So, and the first ever challenge, Netflix didn't catch it because they were busy interviewing something. And if you go watch it, Jimmy Uso was wearing a Giants jersey and Jimmy was into the game and he was a little pissed off that the Giants were getting their ass kicked. Jay looked lost. And non-baseball fans were like, what the fuck is up with this guy on the left? And then journalists that know who Jay Uso is, they're like, we don't need Yeet on fucking baseball. And the most beautiful thing about it was they're going to have like the Addams family, Hand from the Addams Family. They're doing something called Wednesday. I guess it's like a spinoff of what the Addams Family was. And they were advertising that the Hand was going to throw out the first pitch. Now, I don't have any video of it because I don't think any video exists because the Hand did not throw out the first pitch. But they actually showed a mechanical hand on a skateboard. And somebody had a remote control moving the skateboard around. There's even a clip online where the Hand throws a bag of peanuts to a kid. And I wanted to share the footage, but some people would tell me they were getting hit with copyrights because of it. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here? Then it hit me. Ow. Then it hit me. All these baseball fans were losing it. And I was like, welcome to Monday Night Raw. You watched the 1 hour pre-show. It's like watching an episode of Raw. You're seeing, oh, look, this person from the Netflix series is there. Oh, look, it's the Usos in the WWE you can catch on Netflix every Monday night on Raw. Oh, look, it's Bert, whatever his name is. You know, they kept showing Netflix personalities. They had some women doing cheerleading stuff, and you had like, the entire thing was an infomercial for Netflix. And the reason why I'm not complaining too much about this is because I found out, and I'm sure some of you already know this, is that for 2026, Netflix only has 3 baseball events. Opening night, opening day, Major League Baseball, the Home Run Derby, which obviously is going to be like a Netflix special. And they're also doing the Field of Dreams game. The Field of Dreams game is going to be the Phillies against the Twins. That's August 13th. And that will be taking place in Dyersville, Iowa, which is from, that movie, Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. So Netflix will be hosting that, and they're hosting a Home Run Derby. That's it. Far as I know, no playoffs, no World Series, no nothing. So we endured what could be in the future. There's a lot about baseball right now that I'm not a fan of. I am less of a fan now than I think I've ever been in my lifetime. I do like the ABS system, but I will say this. If Netflix in the future works out a major deal with Major League Baseball, it's going to hurt baseball significantly. Because Netflix, I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm about to say, and I'm no expert analysis here, but Netflix has a weird vibe behind it. Like the people that are involved with Netflix is not your typical entertainment people. These are just, I don't know what to, like the amount of coddling for Netflix, it just feels like, like we always say that one of the things that we used to complain early on about AEW was that a lot of the wrestlers, it was thank Tony first and thank the fans second. And, just over the top love for Tony, just got a little bit weird at times. And you almost felt sometimes like, well, that's Tony. Like he needs this extra, love and attention and this and that. You have to go over and be above. Then you understand a little bit more as time goes by, and it's not like that like it used to be. But the thing with Netflix is, there's just a weird thing about Netflix. Like when Netflix gets their hand on wrestling, or gets their hand on baseball, gets their hands on boxing, gets their hands on football, and now UFC to an extent, MMA, it's just over the top where it just gets annoying. And I loved the baseball world angry with the Usos, angry at Bert, whatever his name is, angry with, because I was like, yeah, that's kind of like what we've been dealing with the last 15 months with Netflix and WWE. And once Netflix gets more with WWE, because, they're working on additional deals, and down the line, Netflix could be the home of everything WWE. That's where everything transforms. That's why I think some people still tolerate SmackDown a little bit more than Raw, because SmackDown is still USA Network, except for international. And I still think SmackDown has a different culture about itself compared to Monday Night Raw. But I don't know if you guys agree with me. There's just something weird about Netflix that they get a hold of an entertainment platform. They just put a really weird spin. Like, these are not people that I would want to like share a house with or go on a trip with or even have a barbecue with. I honestly think I'll probably throw them on a barbecue after a while. These are just, doesn't it get, I don't know if you get that vibe, but I just get this weird vibe with Netflix. Like, these are not like people you would want to be involved with. Obviously, if they paid me to do my show on Netflix, yeah, I'd say the greatest thing around. There's just something weird about Netflix. Like, this just, I don't know, something bizarre about it, right? I don't know if any other you agree. Oh, and by the way, yeah, of course, there were things that we didn't like as far as the size of that fucking balls and strikes thing. It didn't even show the pitch count at some points. You know, you see it on there. But when I saw Pat McAfee talking about this, that's when I was like, oh, you know, I really don't watch Pat McAfee anymore. But I was really curious to see what he was going to say because of his relationship with ESPN. But I wanted to see, was he going to be blunt and a little realistic about it, or was he going to pull like what he did with Canada and booing the national anthem? Sure enough, this fucking tool put his tail between his legs, and he let his co-workers that do the show with him, he let them throw Netflix more under the bus. And he would be like, well, you know, I understand. And yeah, I could see that. But, you know, it was our first time. And I'm like, shut up. Seriously. I get it. He makes hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is why he makes that kind of money. He's not a stupid person. But when I heard that, I'm like, the fuck? Yeah. I honestly would not be surprised if he has the big red N on his butt cheek. And I honestly think it drunk at a party with Netflix executives. Hey, guys, look at my butt. And he reveals the red N tattooed on his ass. And I honestly, oh, that's fucking amazing. Yo, that's a, what? I'm not a fan. Not a fan. So, hey, we ended up doing 2.5 hours. Last week we did 3. I think I'd like to get this around 2 hours, you know, on nights. I would love to stay longer. But I wasn't joking, and, you know, I didn't have to screenshot this, but I wanted you to see that I was not going to make this up. And I will take some quick video tomorrow morning, but I have to get my ass up like around 6 o'clock in the morning because, you know, not only do I have to kick my dogs out of the bedroom, but I got to move like their beds. I got to move water dishes. I got to make room for this mattress delivery tomorrow. And for anyone that's, somebody asked earlier, if anyone that's curious what kind of mattress I'm getting, I bought the Stearns & Foster Luxe Estate Firm Pillow Top mattress. Stearns & Foster Luxe Estate Firm Pillow Top mattress. The mattress I had was a Beauty Rest Beyond. I only bought it 5 years ago, and this mattress is a disaster. If I sleep too close on the edge of the bed, I fall on the floor. It's only happened once so far, and it's not fun, especially at my age. Like, I move around. I'm like, is everything working still? But what happened was about 3 weeks ago, suddenly out of nowhere, there's like a baseball size gap in the mattress. Like, it goes about 1 inch, 2 inches deep. It's almost like you took a baseball that weighed 10,000 pounds and dropped it on the bed. It's like sunk it in. So I did with what any great husband does. When my wife was visiting her parents, I turned the mattress around so it would be on her side. I figured it's all the way down because I'm 6'4" and she's 5'4", 5'3". So I figured, that's down by her calf area. She's not going to feel it. So I moved the bed. I turned the bed around so the hole was on her side. That night, she lays in bed. She's like, what the hell happened in the mattress? I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'm all sunk in on my leg. And I was like, oh, I turned the mattress around earlier. She's like, you're an asshole. She's like, you did that so you didn't have to lay on it. And I realized quickly I had to get a new mattress. So it just out of nowhere. It was fine for about 4 years. And then suddenly it's almost, I hate to use this example. It's almost like, do I go there? Why not? It's like, you know, you see a little concern And it's almost like when Chuck Norris went to the hospital, and Chuck Norris, like, he's in the hospital, but he's talking, he's laughing, he's fine. You know, a couple of days ago, he was punching, throwing punches with his boxing gloves. And then 10 minutes later, he's like, he's gone. Like, huh? What? Where did that go? It's like somebody who's fine a month ago, and then a month later, they're like half dead. That's what happened on my mattress. A couple of months ago, it was fine. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Something happened, but now I got to get a new mattress. So it's being delivered tomorrow morning. So now, thank God, I typed the synopsis. See, that's one thing about doing YouTube. I have to type the synopsis early on so you guys know what we're going to get into. So now I don't have to type it at 1:30 in the morning. So now all I have to do is just get this show online and go to sleep. So hopefully I'll be knocked out by like 2:30. Then I got to get up at 6. But I will be around later this week. Schedule this week, Wednesday Night Dynamite, Wednesday. Some people have asked, will that end up being a YouTube live show? I don't know at this point. Still up in the air. I'd say no as of right now. Thursday, I'll be live on Patreon, on our Patreon Discord. I have figured a workaround with Discord with the live stream in the future. Starting next week, I'm going to be using a laptop also, and I will have the Discord chat in front of me. So if anybody wants to just hang out in the Discord chat instead of YouTube for any reason, I'll be able to see it and mingle with some of you. Don't know about the audio streaming through Discord. It's too risky. Usually you just have one audio source, but that should get cleared up next week. But Wednesday Night Dynamite, Patreon Thursday, History Show Saturday morning, and then I'll be live Sunday, normal schedule for the sit down, and we continue on. So I'll be doing predictions 316 in 2 weeks. As of right now, I think Liv is winning that championship. I just feel unless Stephanie retains and then loses the night after Mania, but I think she wins and I think Raquel turns on her. Or vice versa. I don't know. It's too early. I'm not doing predictions, especially now, but we'll do it in 2 weeks. We'll have fun. I might be reaching out to Joey924. Joey, if you happen to see this, text me. I will, if he doesn't see this, I'll text him later this week. I'm going to talk to him about maybe doing a predictions episode together or a recap. So it's not guaranteed, but it's a possibility because I know some of you have asked. But I want to thank you all for spending, whether you're live or in the archive, I thank you very much for spending some of your time with yours truly. I'm very happy to be able to bring this back on Mondays. Not very easy, especially if you saw the amount of thumbnails and stuff, even during Raw tonight. It's hard to get that all together and be ready literally 5 minutes after Raw goes off the air. But keeps my ass, like on my feet. Does that even make sense? Like it forces me to work a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely leave any comments. Not only do I see it, but everybody else tuning in sees it as well. If you're not a subscriber yet, please do. It'd be fucking awesome that by the end of next year we could hit 50,000 subscribers. It'd be nice to have that green plaque in the background, And I don't want to go to the fake route because a lot of people have done that. And it's a shame to see some people out there with like 60, 70, 90, 140, 150,000 subscribers, and then they get 811 views on an episode. You're like, how do you have 100,000 subscribers? You don't even get 1,000 views. A lot of people just go that route. I don't want to do that. I want to get it organically in the right way. So if you know anyone out there you think would like this show, or if you know anyone out there that you want to piss off, let them know about this show. Talk good about me, talk bad about me, just talk about me. But I want to thank you for spending some of your day, evening, morning with yours truly. And we will be back 1 week from today. And next week will be the next to last Raw before WrestleMania. So we have next Monday, the Monday after, and then WrestleMania. So a lot will be going down. But remember, Roman Reigns will not be live on next Monday's Raw. So my friends, I'm out of here. Much love. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.